What's good? What's good, man? Welcome to Afro-Sundays, man. Man. It feels good, man, to do a stream, Afro-Sunday stream, man. I got a lot that I kind of want to unpack. I definitely want to make this an open panel, and hopefully, a lot of you guys can add your 2 cents, man, and definitely, pull up. So let me just go through the chat real quick. So I do have a pinned question that I'm going to kind of ask towards the end, but it will be which group is more likely to prioritize being a wife and mother over career. Jay Focus was good, man. Rona Travelers, yes, please hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel. Let's see, PLO, what's good, man. So I've been taking a lot of time since my last trip in Africa, man. Like I've really been thinking about, you know, what's the best approach, to find a wife um, that I believe that I believe will work for everybody, for all men, right? Now, you can find a wife in the US, you can find a wife in Latin America, but as I kind of realize is that certain countries is not for everybody. It takes a certain type of man to um, be with the type of woman, let's say from the US. You have to be a type of man that, that's built for that. Um, Same thing with Latin America, in my opinion, or any other country. So what I try to look at is like not what works for one man, what will work for majority of man. I'm gonna say, and salute Big Mike. I believe that when it comes to marriage, I believe that marriage has to be a religious decision. If you are not, if you don't subscribe to religion, then it's no, in my opinion, there's no point of getting married. Like, what's the point of getting married if you don't subscribe to a religion? Now, there are reasons to get married if it's for some benefit. Some people need to get married for citizenship. Some people get married for health benefits. So those are business. Those are, I would say, business reasons to get married. So there are reasons, business reasons. But if you're not getting married for a business reason, if you're not getting married for religious reasons, then there's really no point to get married because there's nothing that's gonna there's there's no point of getting married because there's nothing that's gonna keep the marriage together. You know, so it's no point. And so, since I believe that only people that should get married is people that subscribe to religion, is because religion is supposed to um, be a guide that you follow, especially when it comes to marriage and/or divorce. So, salute, Harvey. And so, there's lots of religion, but I'm gonna kind of focus on Islam, what I'm learning about the Ethiopian Orthodox, which also includes Eritrean Orthodox. They're the same. They follow the same structure, but the difference between Eritrean and Ethiopian Orthodox, they just have a different um, Abuna or patriarch head. So they have their own hierarchical structure. Ethiopian Orthodox have its own hierarchical structure. but they share the same Bible, more or less. So I'm going to kind of start with the the Protestant aspect as it pertains to marriage. Salute, fellas. I'm gonna read some of y'all guys' comments as I get a break. Now, before I get into Protestant, a couple of things that I've taken notes on. Um, Andrew Tate is somebody that I kind of enjoy watching, and I want to say a year or two ago he had converted. He converted to Islam, and I looked at some of the videos where he talked about converting to Islam, and he said, and I guess he grew up as a Christian, you know, but he converted to Islam because he said Islam, in his opinion, is the only religion. He said there's no other religions, meaning that people follow Islam. His observation, even my observation, in general, if you well traveled, in general, Islam on face appears to be the most followed religion as far as as far as the Quran goes, and just what's expected of you as a Muslim. And so from his eyes, he said there's no other. That's the only religion. You know, there's no. It's not a religion that people can do what the hell they want to do. So I took what he. I'm taking what he said in regards to that. So I just wanted to throw that out there, just kind of transition. But most of Black Americans, we grew up or were surrounded in the environment of the Protestant church. So Protestant is basically any denomination Christian that's not Catholic. King James Bible, 66 books. So that's Protestant, you know what I mean, in a nutshell, right? So as we know, the even my last pastor when I was in the Protestant church, he always said that we are in a post-religious society. I'm gonna repeat, post-religious society, which is true. We are in a post-religious society in this era. You know, some people may even say we're in the last days, but we are in America, in Western societies, we are in a post-religion society, meaning that people are no longer adhering to basic biblical Christian values, morals, etc. Right? We definitely live in a system where it's secular. Church is separated from state, and we have really separated church from state. You know what I mean? There's more state ideology than Christian influence now in Western societies. So growing up, and this is what made me kind of no longer follow Protestant teachings, the Protestant Bible, the 66 book Bible, that's the Protestant Bible. I know Catholics have their own version, and I know that, you know, I don't like saying Jewish. I like to say Israelites have their own Bible. So, as we know in Western societies, the divorce rates are high, and most divorces, one, are initiated by women, and then second, the reasons for divorce, statistically, number one and two, has always been financial, irreconcilable differences. And cheating is up there too, but the highest has always been finances and irreconcilable differences. Neither cover the grounds of divorce in any Bible, whether it's Protestant, Orthodox, even Islam. The grounds of divorce has never been finances. The grounds of divorce has never been irreconcilable differences. The grounds of divorce have always been adultery, and and I would say change of faith. So if you marry somebody and you guys enter the marriage as one religion or faith, and one person decided to change their faith, then you have a legitimate grounds of divorce. But adultery is pretty clear and universal. So that aspect in itself is a weakness in Protestant. And so it took me a while to understand, like, why are there high divorce rates? Why are women or people divorcing for reasons that's not biblical? Why is that? And so as I started to think about it, I started to think about liberalism. And so follow me. So when you follow the Protestant church as it's changing, right? Traditionally, and you don't see this in Orthodox or Islam. Historically, women were not preachers. They were not in a pulpit. They did not have a role in the church. Initially. Um, why are women in the Protestant church? Liberalism. Liberalism. And I'm going to break down what liberalism is. Um, Catholic, the Catholic Church. Even though I wasn't really going to talk about the Catholic Church, but I will talk about the Catholic Church in this aspect. The Catholic Church has a hierarchical structure. Um, okay, the Catholic Church has a hierarchical structure, but like the Orthodox Church, but the Orthodox model is older and longer. And not to kind of deviate, but the Catholic Church modeled its church after the Orthodox. I'm just gonna say that. Um, I just gotta make my boy a moderator real quick. Hold on, let me see. We do this real quick. Let's see. Remove a standard moderator. Add as moderator. All right, I think you good. Rona. All right, so the Catholic Church has structure. It has a pope. It has structure. They have rules, and they have a Bible. The Catholic Church, his, as historical as the Catholic Church is, and how grounded and tight and uniform the Catholic Church has been, they have allowed the conversation of LBGT in the Catholic Church. Liberalism has crept into the Catholic leadership. And so I'm like, wow, the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is mulling the idea of, they're mulling it's in conversation. I don't know a way to put it. I'm not saying the Catholic Church have accepted it. I don't want to misspeak, but I know that they are mulling the idea of, they're having conversation about it. Like Islam is no conversation. The Orthodox Church is no conversation. even in Catholics now, it's a conversation. It's at least they're at stage one in conversation. So I'm saying it all to say is why has this even penetrated the Catholic Church? Liberalism. So liberalism is it comes from the government structure, and it comes from money, right? One reason why LBGT has advanced not only in politics but advanced in religions is because of money, their power and influence. I'm not saying that Islam or Orthodox is immune to that because money is the root of all evil. You know what I mean? Satan is uh, Satan got Adam to eat the forbidden fruit, and Adam was the most perfect human before Christ. So Satan is powerful. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying Islam or Orthodox can't be penetrated, but the Orthodox Church, I'm sorry, the Protestant Church and the Catholic Church are compromised. They're compromised. So I'm looking at that. I'm just like, wow, like Christianity, Catholicism included, Christianity has, you know, is has been compromised. And when I started kind of researching the Ethiopian Orthodox, it being a religion that comes from a country that wasn't colonized, the fact that they have what many would say is the original Bible, 81 books. And one thing that when I spoke to people in Ethiopia, they said the Ethiopian church have been doing things the same way for the past 3,000 years. Now, a lot of you guys are unaware about the Orthodox Ethiopian Orthodox Church or Richmond Orthodox Church. Probably never visited a church to see how it goes, but they have a certain service. They start at 6. They start at 6:30. They have liturgy. They have a lot of different things throughout the service, and they've been doing things the same way for 3,000 years. 3,000 years. Um, the priests they, they deliver service in their oldest language, Gez, which some have argued that Gez is older than Hebrew. There's different opinions about that. Like Gez predates Ethiopian language, current language Amharic, and so if you know what Hebrew is, imagine a church doing service in Hebrew, you know, um, because they want to recite from the original text, which has a certain context, and not all translations carry the same context. But my point is that when it comes to like the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the church hasn't been compromised as nowhere near Protestant or Catholic Church. Um, I will say that the Ethiopian Orthodox Church has been compromised in a sense of images, because when the Ethiopian Orthodox Church first started incorporating paintings around the 14th century, those paintings were of images of people of color, Jesus, Mary. If you go to some of the churches, you'll see they have these old paintings, even like the Black Madonna. As people pointed out, the Black Madonna, which I think was in Russia. I forgot which country the Black Madonna in, but that was from the 14th century. So across Europe, even I heard the Catholic Church, they have buried in the archives, they have buried pictures of black figures, even in the Catholic Church in their archives. So a lot of these images of, I'm just going to say, non-white images, they existed in the 14th century. The whitening of biblical figures in painting started in the 16th century. And so these paintings were brought as gifts for the most part. And churches started incorporating different variations of paintings. And over time, unfortunately, a lot of black people, when we see something, if we see a white dial or a black dial, a lot of even children will pick the white dial because in their mind it looks better. And so that has infiltrated, the Orthodox Church when it comes to that. But the Orthodox Church, you will never see women as priests, as deacons. Um, you'll never see women in the pulpit. You know, um, the same for Islam. You won't see women doing that. So, um, and I think that's telling, and people should take note of that. So when it comes to comparing all these religions, Protestant is the most liberal based on the things I mentioned so far. So let me catch up on some of these comments before I continue. Where we at? Where we at? All right. Big Mike said earlier, he said, I don't think religion matters. It depends on the woman. That's a good point too. I'm gonna challenge that. I'm gonna come back to that. He said the problem with Muslim women is that they are uncontrollable and they not. Yes, that is a good point too. I'm gonna address that as well. That's a good point too. He said Muslim women become like Western women. Man. Whew. You guys are beating me to the punch. Ozzy, what's good, man? Good evening. Good evening. Ozzy said religion is mostly dying around the world as everyone becomes Americanized, Westernized, but Ethiopia still seems to be pretty religious. That could be changing now. Yeah, it is. Ethiopia does have a Protestant population as well. KE said, bro, I'm in the Caribbean now. I cannot be chasing behind stuck up, non pure, promiscuous woman. I think I'm about to book that flight to Ethiopia for sure. Might as well go hard or go home. Hey, go hard or go home, man. He said, oh, okay. He said, I found my wife in Santiago, Chile. She's Christian and Latina. Yeah. And I'm gonna get into I'm gonna get into something too. He said the world is slowly running away from religion and getting the promiscuity on. That's facts, man. He said LBGT in the church. It is, man. Yeah, man. It's crazy. It used to be Catholic church like you. You can't even. It used to be hard to get divorced, and it's crazy. He said the Catholic religion since King James Bible has compromised the Christian faith to change the original Bible from Ethiopians to make it way of controlling countries and people. That's facts. You might say Ahomar Ethiopia is a hard language to learn. If you're trying to integrate into society, you have to learn that language. That's true. Especially if you want to read their Bible. He said Uzbekistan, Egypt, the Bahamas, Fiji, West Bank, Palestine, Gaza has the highest marriage rates according to what they say. Okay. Highest marriage rates, but what about the divorce rate? Malik, man, salute to you, man. Yeah, man. So a couple of things, y'all. Okay, a couple of comments I'm gonna address first. Now, this is the problem, Big Mike. This is and I thought like this, right? He said religion doesn't matter, depends on the woman, right? When you have a person, not just a woman, when you have a person that is morally sound, right? They're morally sound. They're not religious. They're morally sound. They share the same values. All that is good, but the underlying problem is they're doing that based off of their free will. They're doing that with no external influence, meaning that they could change their mind, because when you set morals and set value for yourself, they're your rules. They're your rules. You know, especially with women, right? Men are pretty stern when it comes to rules, right? We're pretty handshake. Our word is our bond. Women, depending on how they feel, can change their mind. Their values could change. Like, well, yeah, I thought like this 5 years ago, but now I'm a different woman and I kind of see things differently. So when you are playing with fire, if you're with a woman and her morals and values are based off of who she is as a person, it's good, right? But it's risky. So I would, it, I think it's better to have a woman that's faithful to her religion, because that's the only thing that could keep her in check. Your morals, your beliefs are not gonna, especially a woman is not gonna keep her in check. What's gonna stop? Um, what's gonna stop a woman from changing her morals and values based on what she sees on social media, TV, or she learned to somebody in her ear? That is dangerous, And so I always said that um, when it comes to women women have to be controlled by a mechanism. You know, I've tried to have control with money, that doesn't work, or it's not sustainable. You could try to control a woman by force, which is not something we do in modern times. So you take away money, you take away force, control a woman through, sometimes family. A lot of women are controlled by their family. Sometimes that could be in your favor. Sometimes it may not be in your favor, you know? And so, and then you have religion. So religion is is a book, or it's in a book that doesn't change. If she's controlled by family, those are people. People can change their mind. People can change their feelings. If she's controlled by money, your financial situation may change. She may get in a financial situation where she doesn't need your money anymore. More. So the control is in there. So the only thing that can put y'all in check is religion, because the rules don't change, supposedly. Now the problem with Protestant is the rules is always changing. That's what I was going to say earlier. The Catholic Church has structure. The Protestant framework doesn't have no structures. You have all these denominations. You have one church where the head is the pastor, or he may call himself apostle, and that's it. The Orthodox Church, there's a hierarchical structure. You know, so there's lots of Ethiopian Orthodox churches. There's some in Africa. There's a lot in the U.S. There's lots in Canada, and so they all streamline to the patriarch. So that structure that keeps churches from deviating, doing their own thing, and making spin-offs and things of that nature. Now Harvey had mentioned the problem with Muslim women is that they are uncontrollable in a Muslim country. So what I've been trying to do for the men is that, in my journey of studying women in different religions, I'm also looking at the type of country they're in, right? And so I was thinking about, now, if one wanted to convert to Islam, if he based his, if he observed women of Islam in the United States, he would not, he would probably think like, my challenges with women won't change because Islam in the United States, you can't even fully follow Islam, right? And I was talking to my Jay Focus, my guy Jay Focus, and I was looking. I said, I googled the map of the world. I said, maps, which countries where polygamy is legal? Um, United States is not legal. Rwanda is not legal, and there, obviously most of the countries in North America, South America is not legal polygamy. Matter of fact, let me just try to pull that up just to put up some kind, just so you guys can see what I'm saying. But how can one truly practice Islam if you can't exercise the option of polygamy? So a lot of these uh, liberal countries or secular countries, um, you couldn't really be you couldn't really practice Islam to it into its totality. Let me see countries that have polygamy. Let me see this real quick. All right, I'm gonna pull this up. So to um to Harvey's point, let me put to Harvey's point, you are kind of challenged. Let me pull up this map real quick. You are kind of challenged when it comes to even dealing with Muslim women in a non-Muslim country or a country that doesn't support Islamic ideas. So let me share this real quick. Let me see if you guys can see this. All right. So the countries in black, polygamy is illegal and criminalized, right? The ones in the orange, there's exceptions, right? The ones in the blue, those are where polygamy is, legal. Some places are legal for Muslims, but let's just look at the ones in black, right? Can I zoom in? I don't know if I can zoom in. So you can see the ones in black. You see the ones in black, the Americas, right? So in Africa, you got Ethiopia, Eritrea, these small two, that's Rwanda, Burundi. This country right here is Angola, and then you have a couple of countries in West Africa. I think that may be Ghana or something like that. But basically, if I was to say, guys, Islam is the best place for you guys to find a wife, that's not telling the whole story. I would have to say Islam in these countries where you aren't limited to practice to exercise everything Islam is composed of. Now, I'm not. There are other aspects of Islam that people disagree with, like Sharia law, and I think those type of situations are limited to countries like Afghanistan, more the Middle East. But as it pertains to Africa, polygamy. You can freely exercise polygamy, um, and you can freely be a Muslim. I mean, without any restrictions based on the government. So yes, if you married a woman, Islamic woman from these countries in black, there will be limitations because of the government has taken a liberal side when it comes to a lot of things. Rwanda is majority Christian. So Rwanda, for example, their government is going to, even though it's secular, they're still going to have more of a Christian ideology when it comes to what the laws on the books are. Same thing with the United States. And so that kind of helped me narrow down countries to like research based on if I was interested in Islam, for example, right? Now, the Orthodox Church, polygamy isn't part of the Orthodox Church, so that's a different story. Basically, Christians in general have um, have polygamy existed in the Old Testament, so they have shifted from polygamy, and basically basically in the New Testament. But yeah, Rwanda, a country I talked about a lot. Very beautiful women. But as I thought about even Rwanda, most of the Christians are Protestant in Rwanda, and they do take out religion, like they do have a more liberal ideology, because Kagame, even though people view him as authoritarian, I think Rwanda has the highest employment rate for women, which is good for women there. Um, Women will give you that Western attitude. However, Rwanda does have strong cultural barriers. You won't see a lot of women like spending the night overnight with you. A lot of them don't want their family to know that they're talking on a guy with a phone. So they try to talk to you when they're outside the house. So they have a lot of strong cultural values. But even with the strong cultural values, those values can be penetrated because of liberalism. And so it's risky for guys, maybe not now, but maybe 10 years from now. And Rwanda has seen an increase in divorce rates over the last 5 to 10 years. The divorce rate is climbing in even Rwanda. All that is due to liberalism. Now, I had a debate with guys about liberalism. They like, well, because liberalism can be tied to education and other things. And Andrew Tate, I know it's controversial, but Andrew Tate said he don't believe women should like vote, for example. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna make a comment. I'm not gonna comment on that, but there is a tie to education and liberalism for the most part. Uh, so let me go over liberalism real quick. So liberalism at its core is a political and cultural philosophy that emphasizes individual freedoms, equality, personal rights, and limited government control over personal choices. In the social and moral realm, it often supports gender equality. So look at that, gender equality. So I already mentioned how the Protestant church incorporated gender equality because they said, well, women can be pastors too. That's liberalism. Freedom of speech, dress, and religion. So freedom of expression, right? Now, Protestant church is come as you are, right? Now, the Orthodox church, you could come as you are too. Um, I've come as a guest. But when you see members of the church, the men and women, they wear these cotton cloths. Um, they wrap them around their body. The women cover their head, and so there's really no freedom of expression when it comes to that. In Islam, women dress, women cover themselves. They come to church with respect and decorum. So Protestant has liberalism incorporated. So now freedom of expression is crazy. Sexual autonomy and identity. That's also liberalism. Democratic participation in human rights. Okay. Now, and I used ChatGPT for this question. Now, because I had made a question about women wearing the hijab, right? His hijab, and I said, is that action um is that action liberal or not? And so ChatGPT was like, in liberal societies, a woman might wear a hijab by choice. In non-liberal societies, it's often mandated by religion, culture. So I thought that statement was profound because when I was looking at, I was like, I was like on like this Islam Instagram page of women, and some women wear hijab in all their photos, some women don't. And if you are ignorant to certain things, you might be like, oh man, you might see a woman in the US, you might see a woman in Rwanda, and you might say, she's wearing a hijab, so she must be really grounded in her religion. You might find that attractive, or you might find that woman, you know, trustworthy to a certain extent. But and this is kind of what I was what I was saying earlier to your question, Big Mike, is that if a woman wears a hijab by personal choice, that is not that she's being liberal in that situation. You know, it's just look at Brittany Renner. Let's use her for example. This is perfect timing, man. This is perfect timing. Brittany Renner. If you guys don't know who Brittany Renner is, I'll explain. But Brittany Renner, a known Instagram thottie, got a baby out of NBA player. She converted to Islam, right? She converted to Islam. Brittany Renner had the hijab on. Let me pull Brittany Renner. Let me pull a picture of her up somewhere. Brittany Renner has man, she is the perfect case study, man, to kind of prove my point. All right, Instagram model. So let me get a big picture of her up, man. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this, man. Brittany Renner. All right. All right, guys. So this Brittany Renner, for those that don't know, right? She said conversion to Islam made my life better in every single category, right? So, so she converted to Islam in the United States. She's wearing a hijab, right? Kevin Gates married this woman. Kevin Gates married this woman. Kevin Gates married this woman. And they got a divorce a couple months afterwards. I want you guys to understand the gravity of what I'm trying to say. You know, she's wearing a hijab by choice. She's liberal. All her actions, all her life have been liberal. She converted to Islam with that same liberal freedom because she lives in the United States. If she converted in Islam and lived in Saudi Arabia or lived in a country or I'll even say Tanzania or coastal Kenya, she would be judged and governed in a different way from the Muslim community that she is in the United States. Kevin Gates married her, you know, maybe he married her because of her new perception. But she, all her actions, the way she wants to dress now, it's all liberal. It's not because it's mandated. Because if she was wearing a hijab by mandate or by law, then she would have followed religion mandates and law when it came to her being married to Kevin Gates. So what I'm trying to convey to you guys is that religion is more than just religion. It's location. It's location. It's where it's practiced. I even have to tread lightly, even vetting women of the Orthodox faith in the U.S. because now they are the Orthodox. They are in the U.S. They are they are in the U.S. But they are some have been born and raised in um, this liberal society, what you call the U.S. So location is important when it comes to this. When it comes to this stuff. Let's see. Kevin Gates married her, man, and they divorced now, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. Who's nobody's obsessed. I'm obsessed about my religious journey. That's what I'm obsessed with, and it just happened to be a country that wasn't colonized, and that I believe is the only other religion. Andrew Tate said he believes Islam is the only religion. I don't think Andrew Tate knows about the Orthodox faith, but I would argue that you can debate um, you can debate Islam and Orthodox Christianity being true religions. You know, um, yeah, I don't know who that guy is, but he's out of here. But yeah, the Orthodox has rules. So this is what I was thinking about when I was thinking about the Protestant faith, because you can have Protestant faith in conservative countries. Rwanda is an example, right? A lot of African countries still have conservative values when it comes to a lot of things. Um, the problem with Protestant, in a nutshell, is that it's limited to the Bible. There's no other structure or secondary set of rules outside the Bible. So, um, the Orthodox Church, for example, have seven, what they call, you have to know the seven sacraments. One of those sacraments covers divorce. Um, One of the sacraments says you must marry somebody in the same faith. Um, so, and there's other things as well. So you you have to have the Protestant church doesn't have any rules outside of the Bible. And what we see in all religions, Islam, most women don't read the Quran. That's in Islam. Most women don't read, even in Orthodox, most women don't read the Bible in Orthodox. And Protestant is different. There are more women that do read scripture and religion, but they don't follow it. They read more, but they don't follow it. So that is the problem. That's the main problems with the Protestant church and why it has failed, especially when it comes to marriage, is that the Protestant church is just limited to the Bible, and the Protestant church is too liberal. You know, um, I'm gonna post the link just in case people want to come up and you know give you can give Constructive criticism, as long as it's respectful. Let me see if there's any comments that I missed. Big Mike said India has the lowest divorce rates in the world, but they have arranged marriage here. I work with a lot of Indian guys too. I was like, well, the funny thing was that I was like, man, I'm just joking when I said I'm gonna come to India and find a wife, and he like, man, it's hard, man. He was like, you gotta have money. He was telling me, he's like, you should go to. He's like, I want to go to Brazil. He's like, I want to go to Brazil, Latin America. I'm like, bro, only if you knew. A lot of the Indians said, like, the bar is high for them to even find wives in India. I mean, they're struggling. They have a lot of materialistic expectations, and so talking to the guys on the ground, like they say it's challenging. Big Mike said the Christian countries, including Ethiopia, will copy Western countries. The Islamic countries will be the last to adapt. Like I said, the Orthodox Church they have been doing things the same way for over 3,000 years. That's deep. And Christianity predates Islam. So, but yeah, in totality, if you want to include all of Christianity, I think Islam will be the last to be compromised. I do agree with that. But it depends on the countries too. Islam is compromised in the U.S. because you can't fully be a Muslim in the U.S. because you can't do certain things. You can't practice polygamy for one. That's an easy one to point out. Ronan said, "Let's keep it a buck. Even after Eve heard God say don't eat the fruit of the tree, she still did it after speaking to the devil and God. She knew of God and still desired it." Yeah, yes, that is true. Now I'm gonna get a little deep when it comes to that. That's true. Adam, I was talking to this girl about this, right? I was talking to this Kenyan girl because I was like, would you convert? Would you convert? And she was like, yeah. She's like, I want to learn. She's like, I want to know a little bit more about the religion, right? And I was saying, like, some of the things, and this is what made me really realize, like, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, like, why it has still grounded individuals. So when I talk to, like, people at the church, they said some of the things. When I talked to the Ethiopian girl, she said that one of the rules is that you're not supposed to come to church if you had sex the day before. So I was like, church is on Sunday, right? So I'm like, most people, I see you, Kenny. Most people, I'm gonna keep you on mute until I finish this point. Most people have sex on Saturday, right? What I mean, you work, you may go on a date this weekend, or you may not be able to see your honey till Saturday. So I'm just like, I'm like, Saturday, you can't have sex. You're not supposed to enter the church. If you had sex the day before, you're not supposed to go to church, right? So I was like, okay. And then they said that then you're not supposed to eat before you go to church. So I'm like, because when I wake up in the morning, I'm hungry. I want to eat something, you know. So you're basically fasting the morning of before you go to church, and service starts when people get there. People get there when they want to get there, honestly. But you know, I'm just like, you got to be a little hungry sitting through church, but not having sex before church creates a sense of discipline, right? It creates a sense of discipline. It allows you to focus on the Sabbath day, Sunday. And so I'm like, wow, they've been doing this for years. And then fasting before you go to church means that you're not it allows you it's another form of practice and discipline, right? Honoring God during the Sabbath day. So I was like, that's deep. And so I was talking to this Kenyan girl about it, right? And I was just like, man. And I brought up Adam and Eve, and I was just like, I was like, the story of Adam and Eve, right? And she was like, yeah, basically. And I said, you know what Eve did? Eve came around Adam. She was looking all sexy, and she was like, man, I know we're not supposed to do this, but you know, we let's just try this one time, man. And Adam looking at Eve and was just like, all right, just this time. And she got him. And those that understand Adam before Eve came, Adam obeyed God to the T. Satan was always present in the garden. Adam was always disciplined and and a steward and loyal to God. Adam didn't become Adam didn't become weak until he got a woman. And so, people say a woman will always be the fall of man, but that is in our DNA. Our DNA is that weakness for a woman. So I was talking to this. So I was like, we're not supposed. I was like, in this faith, like we're not supposed to have sex before we go to church. And she was like, really? She was like, that's gonna be hard. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I made a joke. I was like, I could just imagine, right? Us being in the bed Saturday night. She put it on something sexy. She rubbed, how girls they rub their booty on your leg, and and she like, hey, like we don't have to go to church tomorrow. Let's and I, I'm okay. I know I'm gonna cave in. I know I'm gonna cave in. I know I'm gonna cave in at that time. But I'm saying this to say is that hold on once, Kenny. I'm saying that always to say is that Ronan is that yes, people are gonna disobey God no matter what. You know what I mean? There's lots of stories of people disobeying God. That's gonna happen in any religion. But before I go on, man, I got Kenny in the building, man. What's good, man?
Messed up.
Yo, yo.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm just fine. Did you see my question earlier? You probably to bring it up later on.
All right, let me see if I
I
can
did
find it real quick.
I did had a question, but I don't know if you can post your email because I was going to send you one of the somebody posted up dating difficulty by countries, and maybe you know something about this. If you got an email, because I can't share it on here, because may have to get your email.
You can send
And
it
I-
to noexcuseent@gmail.com.
If that's on your webpage, I mean on your YouTube.
I'll put it on the back chat too.
Hold on, let me see. 'Cause maybe what I was saying was I may need some information to find a wife, but not right now because I'm trying to plan and save up some money so I can start traveling. But I want to go to the Caribbean islands like Panama, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic first. Make the short trip first, then start going to Latin country, then eventually maybe next year go to Africa. But right now I just need to do short trips.
Okay. Or I see one of your comments. You said, I'm gonna mute you because you got an echo. He said, so tell me who make the best wives, even though I'm not looking yet, but may have some information. I'm gonna be honest. I want to. Well, it's different. It's different caveats, right? There are women that there are people that can have successful marriages or lasting marriages that are not religious or that are from America or Latin America. Everything depends on the type of man you are and personality you have. You know, I know for myself that I'm more of a authoritarian when it comes to my leadership style, and so that my style is going to limit me to women that are accustomed to rules. So whether it's women in Islam or I'm using Ethiopian Orthodox faith, for example, those are more rules based religions, and so my leadership style, would fit more with those type of women. So I think Big Mike mentioned. I know he's married to. I think he said Catholic brother. She's Christian, she's a Catholic woman, and a lot of women still in that faith are still well grounded, but that religion is deteriorating. You know, is deteriorating at a certain rate. So at the end of the day, it still goes down to vetting and picking and finding the right one. But you have to. Everything depends on your personality, your leadership style. Um, the most passive man can be with any woman because he has the most options. What I mean. He will be the easiest man to deal with. So the easiest man to deal with can be with most women. He has the most options marriage wise. If he's the easiest to deal with, the harder men to deal with are going to have the less options. But at the end of the day, you only can be with one woman. He said, I meant to where to look for wives traditionally when they're in their prime and younger. But in general, I mean, if you want to focus on Latin America first because it's closer, I still say Colombia has some good women. But in Colombia though, you don't really have to. What I realize is you don't really have to marry them for them to be with you long term. A lot of Colombian women, I think, they call when they cohabitate, they still call that man their esposa, their husband. They still refer to themselves as husband and wife, even though they're not legally married. You don't have to get married to be with a woman long term. I mean, like I said earlier, like marriage should be for if there's a religious if you are religious, it should be for religious reasons. But if it's not for religious reasons, you don't really I don't really get married because you don't really have to. And to be honest with you, a lot of these women are not required it anyway. Big Mike says Senegal has a large Islamic population. Have you looked into that, or you're not feeling Senegalese women? I think for now, since I'm not, I can't be indecisive, right? But I can be objective to say that I like a lot what I'm seeing when it comes to Islam. I still believe in Jesus Christ and Him being the Lord and Savior. But if I was to convert to Islam, I probably would want to be in a country where English is spoken. That does limit one. I think Chad is another country where Islam is practiced in its totality. Polygamy is like at 50%. I think the country is like almost 50% polygamous. So there's a lot of countries in Africa. I only really look at the countries where there's a decent amount of English spoken. But if you take English off the table, men have so many options in Africa. If you take English, I mean, most of the Muslims, uh, most of the countries that have a large Muslim population, they speak a mix of Arabic, maybe a colonial language like Portuguese or French, and then maybe their local tribal language. So that's the only thing you gotta look into. And for me, West Africa is hot as hell. So weather alone, I probably wouldn't be too interested in making that my target country. He said, I don't think religion matters. If a woman is attracted to you, she will break rules for you. You don't need institutional religions in place for that. We all You entitled to that belief. I kind of went into that earlier, but I hear what you're saying now. He said Travel Connect said the most feminine African women were those in French speaking countries. Okay. Yeah, he does like in Travel Connect, he does like Southern Africa. I think he likes that the most. I'm trying to think anything else I could cover, man. But I put up a map on my community page. So I will say this when it comes to where I would say where passport bros where they should seek a wife. And when I say seek a wife, this is only for brothers that subscribe to a religion. So if you're non-religious, then I don't have any advice for that. Um, you if it's Orthodox, if it's the Orthodox faith, I would say that you should seek wives. You should seek a wife in either Ethiopia or Eritrea. And then if it's Ethiopia, I would stay away from urban cities, which is pretty much Addis Ababa. Because what I have, even talking to men in the faith, they say that women from rural areas tend to be still more culturally grounded than women that lives in major cities. So I'm going to be going to other cities in Ethiopia. Me and International Zoe, we supposed to be traveling to Ethiopia together. So um, it's going to be other options outside of Addis Ababa. Um, so to recap, if you're looking for a Christian wife in an Orthodox faith, Ethiopia or Eritrea, or other countries in Africa like Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, they all have a large Ethiopian and Eritrean population. So I'm going to repeat Ethiopia primarily, secondarily, Nairobi, Kenya, Kigali, Rwanda have an Ethiopian or Eritrean population. Uganda does as well, and yeah, so that's four countries. Now, if you are a woman of Islam, of good, that's in a society where she's going to adhere to Islamic principles, then I would say there's a lot of countries in Africa to choose from. I don't have any recommendations, but for me, if I was to convert, if I was interested in Islam, I would probably choose Tanzania or Kenya, um, or maybe Uganda as well. You know, so and then, what I mean. So you heard you're hearing the same countries in both scenarios. You're hearing Ethiopia, you're hearing Kenya, you're hearing Uganda, and then I would say on a lower tier, Tanzania and um, and Rwanda. So you have the most options. You have the most options. I would say in Uganda, Kenya, and Ethiopia. So I'm just going. I'm if I had to give three countries or four countries: Ethiopia, Eritrea, Uganda, Kenya. Ronan, what's good, man?
What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much, man. Trying to share my knowledge, man.
I got you. I got you. Uh, yeah, man. That's the biggest thing I would say is somebody that has an ethical and moral base is a big thing when it comes to marriage
Mm-hmm.
and relationships. You just can't get a non-faith believer and no ethical or moral backing by their family or themselves and think that you got somebody that's going to be solid.
Right.
Let's be real. I said this in the comments. I don't know if you went over it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Adam and Eve. Let's go back to the original sin. You
Yeah.
know, Eve knew who God was. the supreme being. She knew who he was. He said, just don't, one rule, tree. With one conversation with the devil, what'd she do? She went and ate the apple anyway. She went and ate of the fruit anyway. She disobeyed. So while religion is good, you know, it has to be reiterated, retaught. It has to be reemphasized multiple times throughout a relationship. Just because she starts there don't mean she's going to end there, because in marriage, things change. You're expected to grow. You're not just going to stay stagnant in the way that you learn right now. Obviously, you're going to expose that person to other things in life. You're going to expose them to other environments. You're going to become more and more successful. What do they say? Money is the root of all evil, but money gives you access to things you dreamt of. But if you don't have a good moral and ethical base at the end of the day, they will change.
Yeah. Yeah. You still need something that could pull you back in. You know what I mean? Somebody parents not gonna be alive forever. And sometimes you gotta use, you know, the priest, or I don't know what people, I don't know in Islam what it's like a priest or scripture. You need things to pull you back in. You know,
right.
You know, we're gonna sin, we're gonna do some things, you know, but
you need a good moral, ethical circle. You need to see who her friends are and her friends. You get what I'm saying? Whether she's tight with her family, all those things matter.
Yeah. And like even with marriage, it's not about not getting divorced or woman not divorcing you, because I was thinking about this too. Like in the Philippines, like you can't get a divorce, but that doesn't just because you can't get a divorce doesn't mean that she continue to be a wife.
Right.
You want a woman that's gonna be a wife in a marriage through thick and thin. Like she's gonna continue doing her wifely duties. You don't want to just be married just for the sake of saying you married to somebody and y'all done separated and she lived and moved on and stuff like that. That's not what I mean by not wanting a divorce. I want religion to say you need to keep you need to continue taking care of the home. You need to continue fulfilling his sexual needs. That is still maintaining the wifely duties.
You hard on that sexual need, bro.
Yeah, you can't.
Every discussion we've ever had, from one panel to another, yeah, that's a definite. You know what I mean?
Look what look what a lot of us giving up for that. Like I could travel and smash crazy. Like I'm giving up a lot. You know,
you're giving up access, yeah.
You know, a lot of. Let me answer this question real quick. He says, since English is spoken in Eritrea, do you consider Eritrea women? Yeah, I mean they're the same. They're Habesha too. They're the same. If Ethiopian women, they just had a civil war and just created, and they just have there's two countries now, but they're the same. They're the same people. Just a border separated. This is a good point too. Pan-Americanism, brother. He said the Quran talks about Jesus more than Muhammad. Farrakhan talks about Jesus a lot too. Yeah, Islam. I mean, a lot of my Muslim friends, like they always seem to have a admiration for Christ, even though the difference is that there's a different belief in doctrine. They just consider Jesus
religion. Jesus died as a man and had a whole family, whereas Christianity, Jesus died and was risen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's for me, I have a high admiration for Muslims, and they have a high admiration for Christians too. But there's a lot of difference of beliefs. You know what I mean? But a lot of some beliefs overlap. As well. Obstacles, salute, man. He said, much respect to the show. Obstacles to opportunities with Sean.
By the way, Obstacles lived in, I think, Africa for almost 10 years. So I don't know if he wants to come up and speak on dating in Africa and dealing with some of the women there, and whether he felt like They were obviously he didn't pick one, so he's in Thailand.
I'll be in Thailand too, man. Drew, salute,
Helping
man. Pan African said, I used to be against religion, but the way humans behave, I see it differently. Yeah. And I'm not, I've never been a one to really try to really promote or talk about religion, but thinking about marriage and wanting a successful
It
marriage.
has to be considered in marriage. Even the yoke thing is actually a fact. Whether it be non-religion and y'all are both into physical fitness and this, that, and the other, y'all still need to have some commonality in certain things in life to keep you aligned, or it's going to be a constant push-pull situation. And this is coming from two guys who've been married and divorced. So I'm a two-time offender going for a third. And, I don't know if No Excuse to cross that line again. I think he's just going to date real heavy.
I got one more in me. I gotta, I believe in, I got one more in me. I got one more in me. I'm just gonna say that. I vow to learn from my mistakes, learn more about myself, and I think a lot of things is for me is that I didn't explore the world enough before I settled for a country that was more liberal than I expected it to be, But we live and we learn, man. Black said, bro, I feel the Ethiopian women are the most beautiful in Africa. Do you feel a passport bro can get a wife in that country? Yeah, like it's crazy because like a lot of guys don't really share their African. From what I've seen in the space, I haven't seen a lot of people share their marriages of African women in general. But this one girl that I'm like kind of talking to in Ethiopia, I met her just I didn't meet her online or anything like that. I just met her randomly when I was there, and she was saying like she was telling me her younger sister got married and moved to the U.S. And I was like, how did she meet him? How did she meet an American dude? And she was like, his friend was already married to an Ethiopian chick, and I think he may have asked his friend like, hey, ask your wife if she knows somebody. And she introduced them guys, and I was like, how long did it take for them to get married? She was like, they got married in like 6 months, and I was like, wow. I was like, he was on it. And so though that's a country where women want to be wives. Like I don't know if I mentioned before, but I would honestly say that, my wife in Colombia, I was the one pushing marriage, not her. It wasn't like that. She didn't even want to. When I met her, she really didn't see herself having children when I met her. But I just kind of looked at it like, well, she young. She probably, she probably thinking like that young. But if I would have paid attention to the inner core, you know what I mean? Like I was the one wanting to be married and have children. I changed her mind, but the inner core, if that wasn't her dream, then she was really doing it because of maybe it's too good to pass up on. Some women accept things because it's too good to pass up on. They'll be stupid to not try this. But in Ethiopia, a lot of women want marriage, you know what I mean? And so I think if any guy that's seeking marriage, if you seek a marriage, pursue it with a woman that really wants marriage. Don't convince. If you have to convince her about marriage or convince her, because a lot of women now is when you ask them if they won't have kids, they may say, "Well, I'm thinking about school right now. I'm thinking about my career. Maybe down the line." Women like that, that's more career driven, I wouldn't really try to pursue marriage with them because their focus is not on marriage. You know what I mean? And you would have to go above and beyond to to persuade them to even want to get married. So I would say that you want women that's eager to get married, and I noticed that with a lot of Ethiopian.
Okay. Real quick, don't Ethiopians usually have prearranged marriages? And I don't know if you sat on the panel Friday night, and there were some stories of people that would date these women of other cultures, especially from Africa. They would date them, but then after 2, 3, and one guy said they even went like 7 years or something like that. He went to the one to go and marry her, and the first thing she would say is, "My family would kill me if I married a Black American man." And they had to go back and actually marry somebody of their culture or their country.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
And then you got to deal with the dowry thing. So let's not skip over all the details.
Well,
With
you
have a dowry. Anything else you have?
let me address all those things real quick. One, Ethiopia doesn't have a bride price. They don't do dowry in Ethiopia. That's one thing that's unique about them in Africa. As far as arranged marriages go, it's still a practice in Eritrea, but Eritrea is pretty much closed off from. They call it the North Korea of Africa, so they're pretty isolated. There's sanctions against them. So they don't even have internet there. Most people don't even have access to internet, so they still have they still have archaic practices when it comes to the country of Eritrea. As it pertains to a parent not accepting an outsider, you got to understand in the United States there is more prejudice against people outside of the community. So when guys talk about this is like Dominican, this is like all foreign groups. Your experience in the home country is going to be different than the United States. So when people say, well, this is how Ethiopians are, and they base it on the U.S., and Ethiopia is not like that. Like I've chatted with girls, and one was like, you could talk to my mom. Now, if you want to get married, the traditional process to marry is you have to have somebody, a representative. It could be your family. It could be somebody a friend, an elder. They go to their parents and say, this guy wants to marry your daughter. And, the parents, most women do want the blessings of their parents.
Right.
There's a lot of Black men that's married to Ethiopians out of Ethiopia. Could that happen? Those things may occur a lot in the U.S. Maybe because of it's a lot of reasons because of that, right? They're in the U.S. They see Black culture. They have their prejudices, and then on top of that, some of these men, I don't even know if she might not be Orthodox either. She could be a Protestant Ethiopian. So I don't know, because if you're in an Orthodox church, like, you're visible. People see you every week. The family already knows you because they see you. So they're going to be comfortable with you if y'all go to church together. That's not going to be an issue. So there's a lot of things missing from the situation, but I will not make the generalization that the families are against non-Habesha people marrying their daughter. I don't think you can make a general statement with that in my opinion.
I'm just going through what Big Mike was saying, and I've heard the same thing from Ethiopians. And I would say that, huh?
Ethiopians where?
That's the thing I was about to touch on. You know, old girl, the brick girl, she's Ethiopian, but she's gone against her tribal or her religious beliefs and her cultural beliefs and the way she's carrying herself. And I think she's part of the rainbow community as well. So you have some radical Ethiopians that might be the exception to the rule, but and I would think that most Ethiopian, because they want to keep their I'd hate to say it, they want to be as pure as possible when it comes to their ethnicity.
We have to. When talking about Ethiopians or
Yeah.
Habesha people, and we can include Eritreans too. There are three types of Ethiopians: Muslims,
Right.
Protestants,
Right.
Orthodox. Three different cultures.
Right. I got that.
So if guys want to, when guys, I just want people to know there's three different types. So when if somebody say, well, this Ethiopian family is this or this Ethiopian girl like that, my first question is going to be like, okay, what is she? Is she Protestant? Is she Muslim? Is she Orthodox? Orthodox women around the world are liberal. They are no different than they're Protestant.
Mm-hmm.
So they're liberal. We're thinking they have no structure. They're Western women. You know. Let me answer this question real quick. Ozzy said, he said, are Ethiopian, Eritrean, Somali chicks in Nairobi still feminine or are they westernized? Nairobi in general, how somebody explained it to me is that if they were raised in Nairobi, they're gonna be feminine. Like this one guy said, they're gonna struggle with practicing their religion with their feminist ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Now he said that, like I said, if they're Orthodox, they're still gonna be grounded. Somali chicks, most of the Somali chicks are Muslim. They have their communities. They typically only deal with Muslims or people. They're hard to access, but I know guys that don't smash Somali chicks. But could you marry them? Probably not. They are exposed. When you live in Nairobi, you're exposed to Western. You do take on some feminist ideologies, and
You said something real quick on the slide, like you wouldn't marry a Somali woman. Why not?
no. Somali women, Somali chicks. If you're not Muslim, they're definitely not going to marry you. That's what I was saying. Because most Somalis are going to be Muslim.
And they won't make an exception no matter what they feel about you.
Because
You
they got
got
to
to
get
convert.
approval from their family. They got to get approval from their family. That's a process. I mean, you could probably smash. They still want to experience things, but like if you're talking about marriage, and Somali chicks are bad. Somali chicks look better than Habesha women, man. Somali chicks are. I thought Rwanda and Somalia got the coldest chicks I've seen in Africa. The coldest, by far. He said, I heard Ethiopian parents don't want their daughter to make God. No, I think that's I don't think that's totally true. And like I said, there's different type of Ethiopians, so you have to be more specific when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's the conversation I was having earlier with you about what Big Mike was talking about. So you just hitting it.
He said, no excuse thinks he can just walk into Ethiopian culture without the issues. You will experience language, culture barrier, and also family not wanting you to marry. Man, I'm in Philadelphia, right? They have a Ethiopian community. I've attended it at church, and I chopped it up with some people. Like people say, like they cool as hell. They respect that you respect their culture and have a desire about their religion, just like any other culture, whether it's Colombia, Brazil, like the culture, you like the food, the music, you into it. Like people love and respect that. And women be looking, they be checking me out. Trust me, brother. They, you know what I mean. So it's all about y'all just got to get the game, man. You just got to get the game, man. Now, yeah, is it gonna be some hate? Is it gonna be some parents that just want to see their daughter? Yeah, it's gonna be some. It's always gonna be. It's gonna be some parents like that. it's white parents that don't want to see their daughter with a black man. We don't, we don't generalize white people. Go to Alabama. Go to Alabama and try to get with a politician's white daughter, and you just a regular black man. He gonna have an issue with that.
Mm.
You know. trying to get with one of Trump grandkids, or family members, and you black. They ain't trying to mix that
Yeah, you
blood
can be a
line.
boy toy, but you ain't gonna be nothing more than that.
All right. You might say I was told by an Ethiopian man I'm in DC that the reason why Ethiopian parents want their daughters to marry those to keep the culture intact. Yeah, that's understood. Like me being exposed to the culture, I could see why. I got an echo on y'all. I could see why. At least from an Orthodox, like, because in Orthodox faith, you can't marry somebody that's in the same faith. That's gonna eliminate a lot of dudes anyway. And so why would a woman waste their time on a dude that doesn't know anything about her culture? He's not part of the faith. It's a non-starter. She's not going to even allow herself to even fall in love with a guy like that. But if you are going to that church that woman is attending and they're seeing you on a consistent basis, then they're going to look at you as part of the family. But yeah, if you are outsider, you are outsider. You are outsider. They are a religious based culture. They're not a secular culture. Salute, true prodigy. That's the same thing about Jewish people. Like Jewish is not a secular culture. They're a religious culture. So if you want to marry a Jewish woman, don't you think you got to be Jewish? Don't you think you have to be accepted in a Jewish community? He said, "Where is it?" He
I
said,
mean,
"The
some
British."
of your top. What were your top picks again? You said Ethiopia and where else?
I said guys will have the most options whether they wanted a Orthodox woman or Islam woman. I said Ethiopia, Eritrea, Kenya, and Uganda.
Okay. And of those countries, the only one I know of is Muslim would be which one? Eritrea? Because the other ones are Christian based, right? Or do they have a
Muslims
mixture?
are all countries.
Okay.
They have a mix. There's a large Muslim community in Kenya, Uganda. Tanzania is another country, but Tanzania doesn't have they don't have a large Orthodox. They don't have a church there in Tanzania, so Tanzania will be only if you were from Islam. Rwanda would be the same case if you're seeking one from Islam, but if you're
So to me, it sounds like the best option you could be if you're a Muslim brother in America is to hit up Africa.
Yeah, exactly, definitely. Definitely.
But if you're a Christian brother, it might be a little tight because some of those cultures are already westernized enough to where they're already starting to act like the westernized black women here in America.
Protestant, and that's the Protestant. Like I said, Protestant church is liberal. You got women. You got female preachers. I've seen churches in Colombia. I've seen churches in Africa. Protestant churches, women preaching, and not that I had an issue with women preaching. It made me realize that the Protestant church is liberal now.
And they cater towards the woman more so than the family and everything else they were supposed to be catering toward.
And LBGT and LBGT friendly,
Yeah.
So you're not gonna see LBGT and Islam openly nor Ethiopian Orthodox. Now, I don't want people to get confused because there are Orthodox faiths. You got Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, but they are under a different they're under a different structure. You know what I mean? Orthodox is Eastern. I don't want to make a story, but basically in the 4th century, the church split ideologies, and so most of the countries in Western Europe adopted an ideology, and then the countries Eastern Europe adopted a certain ideology. So the Eastern churches of Eastern Europe, Ethiopia, blah blah blah, and then from the Eastern churches, there were divisions, ideology, but the Orthodox Bible, Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, has the most books, which is 81.
Right. Well, I know because I asked you to pick me up one when you were over there.
Right. Let me read this comment. Salute to Kevin Rome. She said, "I'm rather have a Muslim sister as a wife, though I never get married or advise it. Seems like Christianity is centered around sex, while Islam is about serving your man." Just saying. Salute to that. He said, "In Kenya, which city is more westernized?" Nairobi for sure. Mombasa is mostly Muslim. Kenyatta is loose. I mean, I love Nairobi because of for other reasons, but yeah, it is very westernized. Larry says Big Mike is correct. Ethiopia is very xenophobic, even amongst other Ethiopian ethnic groups. I haven't experienced yet, and so I'm not going to discount other people's experiences, but I haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah.
Salute to obstacles to opposition. Big Mike said, which of the following women from the cultures are hard to marry? Indian, Somali, Iranian. Man, listen, I don't know. I don't know. Hard to marry, what does that mean?
I think all three of them, that's a setup. That's a trick question because there ain't no way any of those would be easy.
Yeah.
Especially Indian to Somali and then Iranian man, come on, Mike. That's a big setup.
I mean, you might have a chance with Iranian, probably the hardest one.
No, you wouldn't. No, I know a big Iranian community. No.
I'm saying they would be the hardest. Yeah. Iranian would be the hardest. Somalis, you might have a chance. There's Somali population. There's guys that are marrying Somalis in the U.S., in Kenya, but it depends on what religion they're in if you follow their religion. But I think so. Pan-Africanism said, grown man conversation. Nice live stream. Appreciate that, bro. Man, obstacles, you could jump in, man. I'm just scrolling through some of the comments. I don't want to hold you.
Yeah, just African. How long did you live in Africa? So I'm kind of curious on what happened with your dating life while you were there.
It was fantastic. Shout outs actually to both of you gentlemen. I want to say that before I say anything. Respects to you guys.
Right.
No, it was amazing, man. Shoot, Austin.
Well, I know you're a Marine. So look. I'm kind of being facetious because I know you're a Marine. You won't be able to handle yours, but at the end of the day, did you see anybody?
Yeah, we're gonna eat regardless.
Worthy to cross the line from just having fun to saying, "Hey, I can put a ring on this, maybe settle down."
Yeah, no doubt. I only like to mess with those type of ladies, anyways. But most definitely, bro. What? Yo, I've been saying that before Austin went there. Now it's not like I invented it or anything, but I was saying before, man, it's an undiscovered paradise, especially for Black men. It's underrated. Like it's the biggest. It's underrated more than the video was about 15 years ago. And if you guys don't know much, that stock probably appreciated about 10,000%. So what I'm saying is that's how underrated Africa is, especially for the brothers. Like they're trying to find haven in all these other places, which, again, most people just stay with their own people. It's nothing actually, they don't hate you or anything. It's just mostly what they do. But when you go to Africa, you just blend in. So, and plus they assume you have the economics. And so the culture is mostly untapped. Big myth that most people thought was high STIs and STDs, and it's like, bro, it's higher in the Western hemisphere than it is in a place like Africa. Like most shorties still live with their parents and stuff like this. So it's a very interesting place. Like I said, it's untapped. They don't even have much access to the internet just because the data costs a good amount of money. So, you know what I'm saying? As far as like, oh man, these girls are messed up from the internet. They're not on it as much. They're still on it. Don't get it twisted, but not as much just because of the data and how much it costs, and it's expensive. So it's a great place, man. I had great experiences, great ladies there, respectful, easy connection. It wasn't too much dirty macking from like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he black. Like, you black too. So you ain't got to worry about that. There's still dirty macking. Don't get it
Because let's
twisted.
be real, you traveled in a different circle. You on the
Yeah.
upper echelon. You were owner. You have land.
Yeah, true that.
And you
True
were
that.
running a business. So your echelon of women are above some of these dudes that are traveling.
Yes, but I would say you can still have access to them. Like, this is the problem, bro. Like, I met the girls just out in life, and I'm not saying cold game or none of that nonsense. But what I am saying is, when you move about in life with a purpose and a mission, there will be women around. They are secretaries. They are
Right.
assistants to real estate developers. They're just in the loop. I mean, they work too, right? They're in life too. And if you fancy a woman that's probably around something you fancy, meaning real estate or just a hobby at the country club, ta-da, you will see the pattern, you'll see the choosing signals. But if you're not, like, if you're going always to the club and trying to find Miss Right, that's where you're just not going to usually hit the target of what you're looking for. You get what I'm saying? That's
I
the
get what
problem.
you're saying. I hope they're picking up what you're saying. You didn't
Okay,
go
got
to
you. Yeah, I know.
all this excellent dating that you had. You weren't down in the red light district finding these chicks.
What
You get
countries?
Yeah.
What countries was you in, real quick, in Africa?
So I would say the countries that I actually lived for a good amount of time, that means like 6 months or more, mostly a year is the
Okay.
average time, which would be Kenya. And then, of course,
Okay.
South Africa, not of course, South Africa. And out of all places, Niger, not Nigeria, but Niger. And then Senegal. And those were the prominent. I traveled to other ones, but those were the prominent I spent like a good amount of time in. And I would say a year average.
Okay.
Good place, though.
So what's your thoughts on? I mean, I don't know if you ever approached dating from a religious aspect, but did you notice anything as far as women that were, let's say they said that whether they were Protestant or a Muslim? You probably didn't run into like Ethiopian Orthodox, but
Yeah, I did. I'd spent
you
some
did.
time in Ethiopia, but it was more like 6 months, so I didn't want to qualify it at that. It was a little bit short time, but 6 months is good.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of the conversations we have with other girls from different places would almost seem disrespectful in Ethiopia, right? Like, hey, do you have any children? What do you mean? I'm not married. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because, of course, having kids out of wedlock, the rate is not as high, right? So, of course, they're kind of like, I'm going to get married before I have kids. But in our converse, in a different culture, it's like, hey, do you have kids? And they're like, oh, no, yes. You get what I'm saying? There, it's like, no, not really. We don't do it like that. And so I would say I did have experience, and I experienced the cultural aspect, but it didn't really hold a lot of women away from me in gaining access to them. It depends on how you approach that relationship, right? If you're open to their religion, open to understand what that brings with it, right? But of course, all people are people. So initial is attraction and energy for women. And so if they have that, they'll work from there, right? They'll bust down the religion and see what you think and what you're about.
Did you run into a lot of Muslim women in Africa?
Yes. They were super good, cool. Like, I really appreciate them. Especially in Kenya, surprisingly.
Any distinct differences from Muslim women versus non-Muslim women?
Yeah, of course, how they carry themselves on a daily basis. I think that was the biggest difference. Like, if you could just look at it, right, on face value, you're going to say, okay, cool. They dress different and carry themselves different, which is important too, my guys. Like, right? Like, we know the importance of creating yourself as a easy target or a hard target, right? And so if you're dressed in a particular way, good amount of men are going to not approach a woman with craziness, right? If she's dressed a particular way versus you got them tight yoga pants on, you know, you're going to probably get a higher thing coming at you. So just off the face value, it's in the way they carry themselves.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, man. I mean, I spent some time in South Africa, not as long as you, but I spent some time in South Africa. That's a very liberal country.
Whew.
You know, very
Is it
liberal.
ever? I would say more liberal than USA, man. So yeah.
In a lot of ways, yeah, it is. In a lot of ways. So, that's basically what I want to. I kind of want to open guys up to is just that if you're looking for a wife, um, I believe that marriage. If you're not, I believe if you're not religious, then you shouldn't have to get married to. You don't need to get married. There's no reason to get married if you're not religious. Like I said earlier, unless it's for a business reason. Some people want to get married for visas. Some people want to get married for medical insurance reasons. So there's business reasons people can get married, which are legitimate. But if you're not religious, what's the point of getting married? Um, but if you want marriage, then I'm of the belief that marry a woman from a very grounded religion, and I only see Islam and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church as grounded religions, for marriage. So
1,000% agree on that. That's a truth pill. And it's not saying all of them, of course, we just have to
right,
say that for people in the back. But
right,
I would I would also say I want to highlight, I don't know if you highlighted this point, it's not even necessarily about the girl in itself. It's about her family. And if her family is aligned around, like I said, these doctrines or structures, it's maybe they won't approach the relationship from a romantic lens, but a lens of actually doing business, a deal, right? What you are gaining for marrying their daughter. And then also, what are you offering? And if you could come with good terms, meaning you're a well constructed individual and you've done the work on yourself and have things going, that family will see it and respect it and then want to do a good bargain with you. And then for me, let's say my experience, if you go to a country that doesn't have those groundings, right? And I say something like,
right.
okay, what does your daughter have? Do you guys have some land? Do you guys have some gold, some debt? They're like, what are you talking about? Does she love you and do you love her? And do you feel butterflies? If not,
Right.
then get out of here. But from these constructs, they don't see it like that. It's more of an old world terms deal, still, not saying all the time, but they could sit down and say, okay, let's talk about it. She's educated. We do have this. And from my experience, they were more willing to deal with me on those bases. The Ethiopian chick and her family did the same thing with me. We have this much land in Ethiopia. We know you have property in this place and that place. So it was a real conversation about an actual family coming together and making it work. And so that's what I would say. The good thing about Islam and Ethiopian Orthodox, they do have this element in the process of courting and coming towards
Exactly.
that
And
marriage.
someone want to say too, like I know guys have challenges marrying women, not all the time, but some guys have challenges marrying women of other races or ethnicities in the U.S. Um, and never travel to their home country. The best way to learn about a culture is to actually go to their home country, because what's impressive to a woman in the U.S. Some women never been to their home country. When you say you've been to their home country, like they feel inferior a little bit. They like, damn, like I'm Ethiopian, but I never been to Ethiopia. Like shit, you know what I mean? You kind of got to leg up. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with, it could be a woman from DR or Colombia that never been to their home country or Africa, wherever. So don't try to learn a woman's culture in the U.S. Learn it from her home country. You know,
Facts.
David said, marriage isn't the issue. The laws are. I support marriage to equality woman, but the laws say What exactly? Trying to see if I understand what he's saying. You understand? You understand what he's saying, Rona?
I think he's talking about American laws more so.
Okay.
If you
Yeah,
could
he's saying
clarify that, then yeah, in America, yeah, that's exactly why we're having this discussion about there are different options over in Africa when it comes to marriage, and the women that we're specifically talking about are African women, not necessarily any other women from other cultures.
Let me say this before I forget. Now, people ask, okay, would you bring a Ethiopian Orthodox to the U.S.? And I would say yes. You know what I mean? I would say yes. They have the religion is the same. The religion is practiced the same here. It won't be any. It won't be any trade off or diminishing on how her culture is intact from Ethiopia to the United States. The problem with Islam, if you want to bring a woman from Africa to the United States, is you won't be able to fully. It may be, let's say Zanzibar, right? It, it's part of Tanzania, but they have a Islamic governance. They have their own court system. Um, Polygamy is legal, um, and so you bring a Muslim woman into secular United States, you are gonna have what she might be more liberal, like shit, okay, I ain't gotta worry about this, I ain't gotta worry about that, you know. So you're gonna lose some of your Islam practices coming to the US. So it's almost like what's the point of bringing it to the US if you're not gonna be able to fully you're not going to be able to practice Islam to the fullest extent in the United States, you know. So that's something
And
to
you
think
mean
about. You know, I
by
mean, you might.
not practicing your the religion is the full polygamy thing?
I mean, polygamy is one. That's an easy thing I can put out. But the only other example, because I don't know Islam like that. I don't know what U.S. laws restrict. But I know Sharia law. I know Sharia law is not going to U.S. You know, Sharia law. You know, I don't know. Sharia, let me just pull it up instead of me speculating. But I know Sharia law limits women on education. Um, they have to wear a hijab. They have to be covered. Let me see. What is uh, some Sharia law examples? But yeah, you'll be kind of limiting yourself bringing a woman to the United States. Now, I mean, if there are a lot of Muslims that move here and live here, do they still practice things underground here? Yes, you know, but it seems a little risky. The five laws of Sharia. Yeah, I wish I had some Muslim brothers, man, that could really give me some really good pros and cons of Islam in the U.S. versus in another. You said Big Mike said if you are at a disadvantage if you bring your foreign to the U.S. I had to move to Chile for my wife, keep them there, or else she would be influenced and changed. Yeah, I mean that's the best solution. You know, some guys. I mean, most guys are. We have to be real too. Most guys, most passport bros, will not be able to live in another country. So for the 90, let's just say for the 90% of brothers that will have to live in the U.S., you know, it has to be what we call that risk. We have to have a risk management process, right? What is most likely? What is the most likely scenario for it to succeed? What's the most likely scenario that she won't switch up? You know, what religion makes the most sense in the United States? So those are conversations that we're having now, and some of it is opinion, but a lot of my opinion is based on things that I researched and things like that. So, um, I have to lead by example. So, I'm going to be the test dummy.
The crash test dummy. But here's the thing. let me say this real quick.
Yeah.
You as a man need to have your shit together first.
Mhm.
Before you start going through
That's
all
it.
these hoops and valleys and all these obstacles, going through all this, you need to have your house in order as a man. You need to be prepared and ready to be a husband. You have to be a husband. You have to be prepared to be able to want to take care of that woman. You have to be in a situation where you add value to that woman's life as well, not just taking her and taking advantage of whatever she has to give to you. So be of the right mindset when you start looking at these things. Yeah, you can go and take advantage of these women all day long, but at the end of the day, if you're really looking for a wife, and that's what we're talking about, you need to be a husband.
Yep. Big Mike brought up, when I look at Andre Love crossing borders, he moved to Cali, Colombia for his wife, and their marriage is 5 years strong. Yeah, and Andre said he is not moving back to the U.S. He said, hell to the no, no. But we did a stream running with Fearless and Kendall, and we talked about how they brought their wives to the U.S. and they have good
Great
marriage.
relationship. Everything's going on right. Everything's perfect. And Fearless even upgraded his wife's education up to a doctorate.
So he can deal with a more liberated woman. That and it could be, like I said, you can.
Hold up, man. That was kind of like a slow slide, kind of hit like liberated. What makes her liberated? She's still a Dominican woman. She still has traditional values. Just because she has an education doesn't mean she's liberated like that.
That's part of liberalism is tied to education. I'm not saying it as a bad thing, and I'm definitely not taking a shot. I'm just saying that it is. Women are liberated in the U.S. They have opportunities. They have access to more things. They are liberated.
I'm gonna have to say this, man. But as a man, you can't fear those type of things if you're dating or you're bringing a woman back to the United States. It's our way, or you can get the hell out.
Well, let me say this. So men of Afghanistan that practice Sharia law, and women aren't allowed to get an education past the 6th grade. They're doing that because they're fearful of how their women will turn out if they become educated. Are you saying that they're afraid?
Say that one more time so I understand exactly the way you're saying.
Men in Afghanistan. I just watched the interview with Tucker Carlson?
Oh Lord, not him.
Yeah, that's a name. Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson, yes.
And he talked to one of the Afghan leaders.
And
maybe it was somebody else, or can't. It was. I don't want to. I watched this interview, right, and they were pressing him. No, it was another guy. They was pressing one of the Afghan representatives about women's rights. He like, would you guys allow women to get education? To be educated? And he was like, no. But my point is that they practice Sharia law, which is a more extreme version of Islam, and are they fearful of what will happen if their women become more educated?
Absolutely.
What are they fearful
of? They're afraid that a woman with knowledge is not going to like them and is going to leave.
But that's their religion, though.
Listen, it shouldn't be about her education. It should be about whether she loves and values her religion, her ethics, her morals, whether she was raised to be a wife and still continue, whether she's making money or not, be obedient and subservient to what her man wants her to do within the relationship as a leader.
So you disagree with Islam?
I disagree with Sharia extreme law. I didn't say Muslim religion as a whole. Don't generalize it. You said Sharia law is tougher.
Now listen, though,
the rules
in some Muslim communities, like some of the Muslim communities, they say a woman has to agree to polygamy. In some communities, they say that a man can bring in another wife and she has to accept it. So, do you think that? Do you think that she should have more liberty to choose if he could have another wife, or should he be able to follow his religion and just bring a wife home without
Again,
her
if she's rooted in her religion, her morals, and her ethics, and her religion dictates that this is a possibility, she knew what she was getting into.
I'm not saying
No,
that.
she lied to herself if she went in denial of saying, nah, he would never want anybody but me. You lying to yourself at that point. That's your problem. I'm following the law of what you believe, what your whole ethical background is about, your moral basis of who you are as a person is about. If you knew these rules are in place and we didn't have that discussion that these were going to be excluded, then why wouldn't you think they would be included?
All right, so this is why I had this stream, because Protestant faith, which most Christians are in America, liberalism gives them the freedom to not follow their religion, the freedom to divorce not based on biblical grounds. And so while liberalism is good in some aspects for women,
here's the point that you're missing.
Okay,
you're giving government ruling factor over your religion and your moral base. That's your first mistake. I don't care what country you live in. Your moral and ethical base is based off your religion, no matter what country you live in. So if she was born and she believes and it's ingrained in her soul that she's this religion, it shouldn't matter what the rules are, the operating rules of the government that you live in. You're still going to follow your moral and ethical base. I don't give a damn what's going on around them. That shouldn't matter.
But why is Protestant church failing?
Because they're not reiterating their basis of what they believe in. They're starting to cater towards the people that are supporting the pastors. The women are in the church. The single mothers are in the church. Who is he preaching to? The ones that are paying in his pockets. He is no longer ethically bound. He's money bound on keeping that church going. He's money bound on making sure his pockets are fat. And he's going to cater towards those women and stroke their egos because they're the only ones putting money in the coffers. The men have left the church for a reason, because they did. We are very strict when we come to our belief structure as men. We know we need to be protector providers. We know these things. We have not changed in our structure, our being, or anything. Hypergamy has never changed. Women are always going to go for the bigger, better option, the moral, the better genetically developed person, or whatever they feel like they're attracted to. But that's a ho-hum situation for polygamy. As a man, if you not continue to stay competitive, what that woman going to do? She's going to wind up getting bored with you or whatever, because society has dictated that. And she feels like she's allowed to leave.
But you kind of proved my point, though.
No. I'm saying society makes you believe that. If she's more, let me finish. Let me finish. If you're morally and ethically bound, it should not matter what society rules are. You're still going to be grounded in your religion. You're still going to be grounded in your basis of your moral and ethics. And whether society says you can or cannot, you're not.
A grounded woman will defend women being able to preach in the church. That is not. That is not.
Where does it say in the Bible that a woman should be the leader of a household? Where does it say in the Bible that the woman should be a preacher? If that's so, then Mary should have been able to go out with the disciples, and she would have been considered a disciple. No. Don't flip it to what I'm saying. Stay biblical. If you're gonna say it in the Bible, say it in the Bible. Don't say what society says.
Let me respond to some things you said, because you put fear out there. Now,
aren't you supposed to be afraid of the Lord?
Listen, hold on, no. You're talking about men being fearful from liberating, allowing their woman to grow in a certain way. Now, you said men by nature are more strict, right? A lot of men have left the Protestant church to Islam for a reason. And so in a lot of ways, Islam is, I'm being facetious, but let's say Islam is oppressive, right? So you have
in some ways, but that's okay.
So you agree that men are more strict,
Yeah.
by nature, and so they choose to go to a stricter religion, Islam. So in Islam being, Islam, let's say it can be oppressive. So are men that are leaving a Christian church going to Islam, are they fearful of Protestant women now? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say they're fearful. They just know that they can't control a woman that has been deep. Listen. I wouldn't say they're even fearful of the women. They just don't like the ethical and moral basis of the women that are in those churches, where they understand the Muslim religion has held their ground in strict belief of how women should carry themselves and what they should do. And they have strict rules for those women to follow, and they are following them obediently based on those rules. Then they feel like that's a better situation for them.
Let me
It's
get let
either,
me get let me
listen,
get
it's either
obstacles in, bro. I want to ask you this question. Do you
you're going
do
to
you
train
think
the woman to do what they need to do, or they're already pre-trained. You as a man can train the woman to be in what you feel like you're going to be in by setting up your situation and explaining how you want life to be. And if they're believers in your moral basis, then they're going to go along with it. Or you can have the religion do it for you, and
do
you can just
you
marry that way.
do
You
you,
don't have to train them yourself.
do you think Brother Andre is fearful of bringing his wife to the U.S.?
He already said that.
I'm asking you. Do you think he's fearful?
Brother, I don't know, but I know their relations. As far as what I know about him, I know he's a strong brother, and their relationship is solid. Now, what are the hesitations? Maybe he just doesn't like the way the American society is as a whole when it comes to treating brothers. You have to dig into that with him. Don't ask me to answer for another brother that ain't on the panel. I ain't doing that.
I would say it's also just, it would be stupid. It would be stupid for him to put his wife in that condition where she would be constantly attacked for her beliefs. Like it's not like another girl that's American would let her live on those Ethiopian Orthodox beliefs. They would combat her. Girl, why he got you controlled like that? Why would he want to expose, even if his wife could hold the guard, why would he take her out of her element to put her behind combat lines so he can make some bread?
And I
No,
think
he's probably in a good position where he's like, look, we don't need to take on that stress. Why not be in a culture that respects the way she sees the world? And I think that's good. Stay in the Garden of Eden. Don't leave out of it. But I would say, just going back to the Afghani man and there's all this nonsense, like, I just think too, I've lived in many countries that were Muslim and they followed Islam and etc. We always take the assumption just because they got Sharia law that they're like in control. That doesn't mean that. Like, dudes can still be cucked. Dudes can still be emasculated within their own household.
Mm-hmm.
So even places that we look in the Middle East, I lived in the Middle East. What do you mean? Girls are still out here. Like, they still take the risk. They're still out here on the dating apps. They still hooking up. There's no amount of laws on the books. And so now you're like, well, they can't go to school. Well, they can still conquer men in the household. And I guess we just don't realize how many different types. Every man's not an alpha man, even if the society sets it as a standard. In his household, a woman can still control him with the box. And other things too, like love, intimacy, affection. And so just because you got some laws on the books in your favor doesn't mean that another human being can't find other ways to assume the power in the household. So when you even go to a Middle Eastern house, who's in control? They could point at mom and say, mom, like mom still got daddy in control, regardless if it's Sharia law or not. So I think that's like, it helps, don't get it twisted. But I just think it really depends on the situation. And as we look in all countries, women really have that control in a lot of countries and cultures across the board. Just because in the UAE, women don't work and they can't drive, they still get chauffeured. They still have access to Mercedes-Benz and BMWs. So I would say they live high quality lives, even over the men that are sitting there with all their traditional garb in the desert trying to build a desirable city, while women are at the spa living their best life. And so it just depends. But I would say that at the end of the day, I think you just have to find what's most beneficial for you and then find that place. And then I say also just stay in that place unless you have to uproot somebody and take them back to the States. Don't complicate it. And as far as women reading or not and stuff like this, I would say, as Ronan was saying, be the best man that you can be. Education and her being able to read shouldn't deter. your goals and your accomplishments. I just think often in some countries, not only the West, education can make somebody feel like they have more fighting power against you. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm smarter than you now, or something like this. And I would say, just be careful of those type of women. I stay away from those women, right? Like overseas, my experience, I met many girls who were educated, but they never used it to gloat. It was a thing called being an adult, not a thing of a flex. And that was a big difference from the West and other places. Girls would be like, yeah, I have an education. I went to college, but I'm not a teenager. You know, like it was just like, I'm not here to brag. It's called living. It's called reading, you know? But in the West, it's like, well, I got this. And that means, you know what I'm saying? It correlates to me being at a different higher class than you, right? And so you have to be careful of that, not necessarily the education in itself. You get what I'm saying? Because you, as a high value man, any man in history, have only married women. And I'm talking about marriage, since this is the main subject, right? They only married women that were of equal standing or higher. All times. Julius Caesar was dumb. Genghis Khan was dumb. Okay, what kind of man do you want to be? You want to be a peasant who does want a woman who can't read? Or do you want to be Julius Caesar, who marries a woman that could read and write because he needs a partner that can also watch the throne?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It depends. If you're like, no, I'm just a peasant, then okay, cool, marry a girl who can't read. But even amongst lower class in all societies, they still traded on that same level, right? They had to have the same social, political, and economic status. They still practice like that in many places in Africa and the rest of the world today, India. So I would say sometimes we get cartoonish with how we see the world, but it's really still on the fundamental basis, tick for tack. There's no hypergamy. We both equal each other out.
I think, like I said earlier, like everything you have to really know your personality type is. Like I say this all the time. Just because we're gonna use Brother Andre for example, just because
why you keep bringing up?
Just because him and his wife are compatible, or just because Fearless and his wife are canon, you know, they have good relations. It doesn't mean if I was married to those women that I would have the same outcomes as them. My personality may clash with them, and I might push them to divorce because of who I am. But I understand myself well enough to know what my personality type meshes with. Like I said all the time, certain guys we're gonna use people that we know, like Fearless, or let's say Fearless. He may have more options because his personality type may be may his temperament and personality may be more received by more women than I am. Whereas my personality type and my leadership type, it may limit me to a smaller pool of women. And so while it might not be a good idea for me to bring a woman to the United States based off of my personality, it might be different for a guy with a different personality, where he may not push her away due to his personality, and then to the lesser of what they say. The path goes. Electricity goes through the path of least resistance. So women are going to go to where they get the least resistance. So if you know what I mean, so it all depends, man. Like everybody ain't meant to bring a woman to the United States. That at the end of the day.
That's facts. And it is based off of leadership style, and how involved the woman is and what her basis. Like I said, everything starts off with your basis of your moral and ethical beliefs, how you were raised. And some people are rebellious in even those. Like I said, my second wife came from a family where her father and mother are still married, almost 50, 60 years married. They're in their 80s. You know what I mean? So even with that, and a clear example of what it takes in order to survive that long in a married relationship, she still never experienced life on her own. She stayed within a protective marriage with her father, which had strict rules. Once we got married, obviously she started to be able to grow more. And one of her realizations was, again, society dictates, oh, you should have had some independent life. So now you got to go out and figure that out for yourself. Not more than 2 years later, guess what? I want to come back. Fuck you.
That's why
with my whole fucking chest at that point. Because we were married 9.5 years.
This is why
my whole chest.
This is why I'm putting an emphasis on religion, because I know my personality. You know, money ain't gonna probably keep me and a woman together. Sex. I need something strong that's gonna keep us together. A woman that got to deal with me, religion is the only thing that's gonna keep us together. So, you know, it's not gonna be no other mechanism. So, if that's the only thing she gotta, that last thread of hope is religion. I gotta be with a woman that's a part of a religion. That's
I want more than religion. If I'm going to be with a woman, it's got to be more than just religious reasons. That should be your basis. You still need to be an individual. You still need to have desires for me and us growing together and doing things together and wanting to be in my presence until my dying day.
Right.
The religion ain't going to just get you over like that. You need to have all different aspects of that desire beside for my desire and love for God.
Yeah.
Because that's failure.
Even this girl I'm learning from in Ethiopia, she was sharing something about her pops, you know, and she was just saying that she highly reveres her father, but she said he disappointed her in a lot of ways. And I was like, how? She was saying that, you know, he was kind of
got daddy issues.
He was kind of, you know, this is important. She was saying her and her mom, like, you know, they always try to press and encourage him to advance his career so he can make more money for the family. And she kind of basically, in a nutshell, kind of said that, you know, he has been stagnant. He didn't want to. He was comfortable in his job, with his income, and so I've seen that situation even in marriage where women. A lot of guys where women constantly want to see guys ambitious and reach, right? Because women feel like if I had your education, if I had your opportunities, I would do. Some women feel like I would do better than you if I was in your shoes, right? So when she was explaining to me about, like, you know, she felt like her father was stagnant and didn't grow. It made me realize that, to your guys' point, it can't always be about religion. Like, women are still watching you; they still have expectations, even though they may be more grounded and staying in a marriage, but they are fighting against disappointment. You know what I mean? This man,
disappointment to who and whose eyes? This is the thing about a woman; she's always going to have an expectation higher than what is necessary. I don't know if you remember, there was an interview with a woman where she said, I couldn't date a man that didn't have this, that, and the other. And then she talked about a situation where she was dating a doctor. He already had his doctorate. He already had a thriving practice. She wanted him to do more, have multiple offices, work yourself to fucking death. Don't have a quality of life. She didn't give a fuck about that. She only looked at why he was just happy with being a doctor. Why the fuck not? You're a doctor. You know how long it took you to get your doctorate and actually have a thriving practice where people respected you in the community? That still wasn't enough for a woman. It's never going to be enough for a woman, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
That's where hypergamy comes in a woman's mindset. We have the protector provider where we have a solid basis. We have resources. We have this, we have that, and we lock ourselves into that. Women have no limitations. And now with the way the mentality is within society is, if I'm not happy, I can leave. Regardless of how successful you are. Money doesn't buy happiness anymore.
I would say it's probably interesting. And I'm just going off on this because you were just saying that, Ronan. But I think, like, the reason that maybe women have that desire is because they have options.
Exactly.
It comes with options. Like most men move from a paradigm of scarcity. So you could never understand somebody who moves like that. You're like, bro, I locked this in. I'm solid. Shoot, I'm ready to get married and forever, ever. She's like, bro, I got 20,000 options from some of the richest, most elite people always reaching out to me. You get what I'm saying? So it's probably a paradigm from so many options. And it's always been like that. You know, they've always been all men would want to sleep with all women, right? Or any women, but most women don't want to sleep with all men. And so it's a supply and demand thing mostly. And so the desire to want more and more and more, it just comes from having that much optionality. If there's a guy who has that much optionality, they probably take it too. But they usually don't have that much options. You get what I'm saying? Even the most flyest dude who got the most options still got less options than a goddamn average girl. So even the top performing man will never still, in human period, will never still realize the same potential of an average woman when it comes to sexual marketplace and having human relationships.
Right.
So that's probably a paradigm. We just put it like, oh man, they could never be satisfied. It's because they always have a high level of demand and something that we can never correlate with.
But this is why. Let me interject real quick. This is why. Now, Ronald, you remember when we did that stream and I had the clip with O'Shea about ambitious woman, right?
Yeah.
About why I don't want an ambitious woman, right? And part of the reason is when I talked to when Olga was telling me about her father and how her mother then wanted him to be more ambitious, I had explained to her. I said, well, I was generalizing, but I said men and women are different when it comes to men. Typically don't like change, right? We typically like things to be stagnant for the most part. Like we just want to. We don't like too much change. Women always want to see constant change, elevation, constant change. And so, if you're a woman like that, that means you're an ambitious woman. Not all women are ambitious. Some women want it. Some women are cool with sitting on their ass and just doing a bare minimum. The soft girl life. I fuck with the soft girl life. I fuck with the soft girl life. But I was telling her that you are an ambitious woman. You want to see in your father what you want to see for yourself. And so I said, well, you don't need to look for a man. You need to pursue what you want to pursue. But I said, when you turn 30 years old and now you maybe you didn't accomplish, if you don't accomplish your goals by 30 years old, your options for marriage may go down. And so, and so she was like, well, I just want to better myself until that right man comes along, and so I don't have to worry about money and things like that. But an ambitious woman can be dangerous because she's going to put her mentality on you if you're not as an ambitious man, if you're comfortable and with where you're at. So it's
And
a
again,
big
doesn't
gun.
that shy away from her upbringing? And like I said, if the woman's not rooted in her upbringing, she's going to start dictating to what success is in society, not what success is in the way she was brought up.
Right.
Society is dictating that mentality, not what she was taught. And that's the factor. Do you have a woman that follows the fucking crowd, or she's an individual and she does things on her own? Do you have a follower, or do you have somebody that goes outside the boundaries of what society dictates is right and wrong, and she follows what she was taught from her ethics and her religion?
Right. Like to Obstacle's point earlier, like and he was right. A woman, even if you have the upper hand in a situation, a woman is always watching you. She's always challenging you. And I watched a documentary on YouTube about some king like in the 10th century in Europe, and he had a wife that he loved, and he deleted her because she basically was emasculating him, and he's the king. You know what I mean? They got, back then they had ultimate power. And even his queen was challenging him, emasculating him, and he deleted her. And so women have been doing this from the beginning of time, regardless how powerful a man is. Like a woman will, to what Obstacles was saying, a woman will, she's watching you, she's observing you, she's judging you, she's pouting, she's getting an attitude in some instances. So having control, to his point, is not going to control her emotions.
Negative. But what was it called? I kind of said this at one point. I think our assumptions when we go into marriages and etc., we make these false assumptions where it's like, I give you an example. How many times you heard people say, yo, excuse, bro, I'm getting out the game. I'm retiring, putting up my jersey. Right, Ronan? Oh, yeah, yo, man, yo, you get out the game, Obstacle. Yeah, I'm settling down, bro. I'm tired of these streets. I'm tired of the games. Right? We heard this, right? That's what it is. What I was telling my friend was like, nah, bro, you tired of expeditions. Now you into playoff season. Now you into the real big leagues now when you get married. We think the games end. So our mentality is, hey, when we get married, I'm tired of the games, right? I'm tired of this single date in. It's BS. Look, I'm getting married. I'm settling down. And what I say no is that it's actually the quite opposite. You have a higher threshold to meet now. There's more games going to be played. The games now you got to deal with mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, siblings.
Yes.
Prior to that, you was clapping, going home to your house, or maybe she, shacked up with you a little bit, but it ain't that deep. Your assets wasn't mixed, bank accounts wasn't exposed, your careers wasn't connected. So again, the mentality we have is, bro, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna get out the game and settle down. There's no more games. What I'm saying is no, you just entered the biggest game of your life. And that's when you get married, because that's when it becomes complex. You got to satisfy the same chick for 50 years plus. That is complex. That is deep. They're going to change, right? Their desires, their wants are going to redirect. They're going to evolve as a human, maybe de-evolve as a human. You get what I'm saying? So this is a roller coaster ride. This is not something, this is my retirement. We almost see marriage as a retirement. Like, man, I'm about to get in there and just collect Social Security up in this bad boy, and then I'm good. Nah, bro. You're entering the workforce when you get into a marriage. And if you know that, then let's say you'll be more knowledgeable and more prepped even, because now you're coming in it with a different angle saying, I understand this is the biggest game of my life. Let's get started.
Right. Because now instead of just dealing with your personality, your morality, and everything else, you got to deal with not only hers, but like Obstacle says, now it's the family game, the interaction with how she deals with her family, whether she lets her family influences her, whether she has friends that are influencing her as she grows. Why is your man doing more? This person's doing this, that, and the other thing. Girl, this guy likes you still, and he's doing better than your man. You got all kind of outside influences. Is your girl a follower, or is she going to stand 10 toes down with you?
Yeah. And I remember I told a brother one time, I said something, and he was like, I was like, bro, you don't think your girl still likes six packs? Right. I don't even care if she took on weight herself because she had a kid. Well, that's hypocritical. She fat. It don't matter, bro. A fat girl still like a six pack. But what he was seeing, he was like, bro, I never even thought about it. I'm going to be honest with you. And this was his honesty. So shout out to him for being honest. He was like, once I got my wife, right? I was like, well, I don't need to hit the gym no more. Because I hit the gym to get girls. Now I got the girl. And so you see what I'm saying? That was his thinking. And then boom, he in the marriage, right? And so, of course, him and his wife were separated. But what I was saying was, see, bro, that's you lacking. You thought it's time to put your feet up and eat Cheetos now because you married. That's not what it is.
That's what I want to do. I want to put my feet up and eat Cheetos, man. I'm just joking. But yeah,
I'm away right now. What you think? I'm over here, my girl cooking for me to make sure I'm healthy as fuck. Are you kidding me?
But this is a good topic though, because like let's say you obtain a wife, you have respect, you know what I mean, she's solid, you know what I mean, family backing, religious backing, all that. Now you have to you want her to be happy in a marriage, and so now we're kind of talking about things you should do to keep for your woman to be happy, whether it's staying in shape. Some women do expect you to continue to improve. You making six figures, that's cool. Okay, let's shoot for 120 next year. Women actually, American women push you like that. They try to encourage women. They say, okay, baby, that's a good job. You're making 80,000 a year. You know what I mean? What we gonna do to get to 90,000 next year? They want to, even though 80,000 might be cool, you might be like, shit, we good. I get a little raise every year. We decent. Like why is you pushing me? And so I struggle with it. Like it's a struggle when a woman is she's trying to encourage you, but she's pushing you, but it's really on us is pressure. She thinks she's encouraging, but it's pressure because it's not like pressure because she's not saying it just to be, if you don't do it, it's okay. Like she's saying it as a warning, like nigga, like because sometimes when people say something, they may be joking about it, and they may lightly say it, but it's
Like,
really,
are you serious?
it's
Wink,
really
wink.
right. So as men, like it's something to think about. Like by nature, we want to be content. We want to be content, or we feel like okay, we made it to the level. Now I can relax. Now I could be like Al Bundy and chill, or
Yells at Al Bundy.
and so it's kind of we gotta we kind of need men and women to have this conversation because we die sooner, we die younger. We don't want to be working ambitiously until we die. Like I want to be able to live to 80, 90 years old like some people. And to live that long, you can't overwork yourself if you want to live a long life as a man. You can't overwork yourself. And
You
so
actually do live longer to have a woman versus don't have a woman. That is something to say. When a man is in a relationship, he actually lives longer. So but
we die first too. We die first too.
That's from stress
Exactly.
and other things too. But here's the thing: if a woman keeps you on a regular diet, if she keeps you going to your regular doctor appointment, because men, we will fall on a goddamn knife or a sword versus us going to the doctors on a regular basis, having things looked at. Women do that, and that's why they live longer. Believe me, a woman will put you on a schedule to make sure your health is intact, especially if she loves you.
Yeah, I do see that. But what I always emphasize to guys though, do that yourself. That ain't no magic. That's pretty goddamn simple. And
It should be.
and then too, again, most people think I'm traditional. I'm actually a super feminist, only out of just being logical. Because there's no way you're going to run me around like a working mule until I die. And the only reason that the goal of like trying to get all this money is getting pushed back is because you don't work. I'm feeding 8 humans. And again, let me get this clear. That's not natural. That's not natural at all. I got a school, guys. It's called hunter-gatherers. We hunt for meat. They hunt for plants and vegetables and fruits. We both curate provision, right? I protect, she reproduce. That's it. It's protection and reproduction. Provision is the responsibility of the family, period. Hence why people used to have kids and they used to work on the farm. They used to be farm hands, right? Like, so everybody worked, right? But if you got yourself working and somebody just consuming, that ain't no yin and yang, right? That's out of balance. And so your balance sheet is out of balance. And hence why you guys feel like you're going to be working forever and ever. And then this is what I would say. It's not in the West, because if you come to Thailand, man, what? I got cab drivers who work all day, every day, always tell me, yeah, man, my wife, she yak, 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 yak. If I don't make money, it's yak, 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 yak. I got to make more. I got to make more. So, bro, it ain't you. It's Vietnamese men. It's Thai men. It's a bunch of men globally who get yak, 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 because that person who may not be in charge of being breadwinner is always saying, hey, go get some more bread, get some more bread, get some more bread. So I would say it's a human thing. And it's definitely humans when men have relationships where they put themselves in that position. Like that other person is just a co-pilot. Drive.
Do you guys think do you guys think the women that are talking the soft life, do you find those type of women more attractive? That just say, you know, they want a stress-free life. They don't have the ambition mindset. They just want to, you know, they just want to relax and be taken care of, and they're not gonna put that ambition mindset on a man because they're not ambitious themselves.
No, I think women are more ambitious when they know you're the one bringing in the money. All they have to do is sit back and take it and reap the benefits. Yeah, go out there and kill yourself for all they care if they didn't really love you.
The soft life chicks don't want to work. The soft life chicks don't want to work.
Listen, if she runs you to death and you don't care about yourself, she will run you to death until you make so much money and you wind up dying from a heart attack early in life. Who's the inheritor? So at the end of the day, you still need to make sure you're being taken care of while you out here getting it for the other one that you supposedly love.
Okay, I got somebody in the background. Kicks Kaya Global.
Hopefully she a female.
And I would say also
in the background. Hold on, real quick. In the background, real quick.
Go ahead.
Before I bring you up, can you just cam on and cam off? I just want to make sure you're not like there be people trolling and stuff. I just want to just make sure you cool. All right, cool. I'll bring you up. You can turn your cam off. All right, hello.
Yeah.
Oh, what's good, man?
Chilling, brother. How y'all doing tonight?
We all good, man. We all good, man.
I hear accent. Where you from?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just joining in the conversation. I was born and raised in Haiti, grew up in Florida from 9 years old. I'm 33 right now. But in recent times, I've been traveling in Africa. I've been following the brother, No Excuse, for a while though. But I was in Kenya for about a year. I've been Senegal, Gambia, Morocco, Egypt. I spent some time in Tanzania in recent times. So I've been following the conversation. A lot of it is relatable, a lot of the topics.
Okay.
But I just never really came up. But tonight I decided to come up and just, introduce myself and whatnot.
Okay, cool, man. So what you got any opinions or commentary on things we talked about so far?
Yeah, I haven't. I'm kind of like at work, so I haven't really been. I've been like in and out.
Okay.
But just by the title, in relation to like who make better wives, either Islamic or Protestants or Orthodox. I haven't been to Ethiopia, so I can really comment on that in terms of that experience. But I've dated Islamic, deep relationships, as well as Protestant women. I would say when it comes to principle in general, I feel like Islamic women are more principled. They're more grounded. They're more firm. Just in terms of, I would say, for lack of a better term, submitting to principle. Protestant women, I've been with a Protestant woman. I've been married to a Protestant woman before, but we're no longer together. I mean, I've lived with a Protestant woman, like, of course, being married.
Right.
I would say, I don't know, they're not as strong when it comes to family values as we would think.
Right.
I mean, especially this generation. I'm not gonna say all Protestant women. Let me just say that because some people will listen to my statement and think, oh, he's just making a blanket statement. But I'm not saying all Protestant women are like that, but based on my experience, I mean, I grew up a Protestant.
Right.
Um, they're not as, I don't know, just firm. Like I said, I've been in a relationship with Islamic women. There's something about, I would say, the principles of Islam that cultures them to choose their family, choose their man, because once they marry, like Protestant women believe that like marriage is not really as, I don't know, there's grounds to, I mean, I don't know if we can curse in here, but but like there's grounds to just like bounce, you feel me? Especially in America, like nigga, you can dip. Like,
Yeah.
but in Africa, let me just say Africa, like once you marry, the family's involved. If you got a divorce, like you gotta go back through those same channels. Like
Yeah.
if you went to the elder, you gotta go back to the elder as a man, go back to the family and let them know like you putting away this woman. Like she don't, I don't know, but if other people have experienced that, but they don't just leave just because like they feel a certain way. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I think in America we go by feelings more than the principle itself of what that status actually means. So like if you
And
feel that you're not being like emotionally intelligent, or like you're not holding some part, then like she move on to the next thing, you feel me? Or just, but in Islam it's not like that. You know what I mean?
they
But
allow
mm,
themselves to for what I've observed, women in those faiths like Islam or even Orthodox, they allow themselves to be vulnerable, meaning that they will they will not work and be married and be and vulnerable in the sense of that they force themselves, they put them in a situation where they force themselves to have to work it out because they don't, because they put all their faith in that man. Um, they don't, you know, some may have education, some may not have job experience, so they know that they will be. There are situations where they will be asked out if they divorce, and that's being vulnerable. Like Protestant women or women in the West, you know, they learn from the past, or you know, they learn from the past that hey, you can't be vulnerable. You got to have a backup plan. But when, you know, what I see in a lot of these faiths, women are still allowing themselves to be vulnerable. You know, and that's another reason why I think a lot of these situations last long.
yeah, definitely. I agree with that. But then I that then allows you to be a man, you know what I mean? 100%. You know that there's no gray areas. Like
Facts.
everybody knows their role, and we maintain those principles. But I think
Facts.
also, I don't know, in the West, women are not raised and like to be in alignment with marriage. It's more so career. Like that's the spiritual compass that they're navigated towards. Like they're not, but once again, I'm not speaking every woman, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm just saying in general, like growing up, even as men, like we were raised to just be more career oriented unless you was raised in a family that nurtures you to see yourself as a leader, as a man that would like lead families, children, and so on and so forth. But in general, we would have to assume like a completely entire education to actually succeed in that realm. And I think in Africa, even amongst Islam, because
Yes.
I've experienced Islam more than Orthodox, and I would say like they were raised in that way, like
I would
to
say,
become wives. You feel me?
brother, it's only it's only like from my observation from dating globally, it's like it's not even, your problem is not even careers or none of that. Your problem is just no respect for men. Like I'm from Poland. I mean, I had a girl. I'm from Poland. Super cool. Her mom worked. Her dad worked. They loved, stay married. She still did what she did in the household, and he did his small roles as a man in the household. And they both worked. End of story. They both worked until they have a retirement age, 60, and then it was end of story. She was like, well, I just love you. And I saw my mom do this, and that's it. And it was just a respect. It wasn't about like, never did her career come in like, oh, I choose you over a career. It had nothing to do with that. It required extra work. And so what you're getting confused is some people are just lazy and they're telling you it's because of my career. Right. But if I wasn't working a career, I swear to God, you'd be getting all the home cooked meals. No, you wouldn't, my good guy. You'd be getting Uber Eats still and getting Hungry Man on the TV because even the wives that are, watch this, peep this. If I'm lying, then I'm flying. Even the wives who are, don't, what do they complain about? The husbands that still fully work don't come back and do what? Help them with the household duties still. So even the girls who are housewives, they still complain about the working men and say, oh, you're always gone. You're not helping me with the kids. So it's just about just being a person being lazy. It has nothing to do with the career getting in the way. It's just them saying, hey, I don't want to do all that. And then, like I said, even if you retire and make them a household wife, you still ain't going to get them cooked meals if the person's lazy. And so I don't think that is an issue. And then, like, like again, Ronan, how many girls we meet in Philippines and Thailand that are nice and they work? Working, you don't have to be mean because you work, right? And I think if women in the West were more nice, right? Why do you have to be tough? You think, okay, let's say if I snap my finger and made all the women feminine and nice in the West, what do you think will happen? They all get beat up by men because they'll take advantage of them because they're too feminine now?
Right,
That's a
right.
lie. That's just rude people making up some excuses for their narcissism and their inability to be a nice, respectable human being. Well, I gotta be like this. Man, I gotta call you a ninja excuse because I was born in the world. And it forced me like, bro, you can get much further with what? Honey,
Being nice. Yeah.
right? You can catch more bees with honey. That's something they would tell us, right? Kevin Samuel say what he's saying. It's like, well, your tone, be nicer. Okay, well, let me tell you something. Try the same shoe on yourself. Be nicer in the world, and then watch how things would change. And I think it's just an excuse. It's just an excuse for saying, hey, I'm not feminine because the world won't allow me, or I got to go to work. When you could go on the entire other side of the world and see a bunch of women working and they're nice in real life in a real way.
That's true. That is true.
Because there's no way, imagine a cop pulling up and then you're feminine and some men are going to take advantage of you now because you're too feminine. Come on, cut it out. If anything, other men will beat that man up because they attack the feminine woman. You get what I'm saying? So it's like you never lose being feminine.
That's true, man. That's true. It's a lot of things, to look for, especially vetted, man. How ambitious she is, how feminine she is, um, religion, family. Some guys might be like, man, it's just a lot. It's a lot to just kind of like absorb, man. But
Hey, let me say this.
mhm.
Before you come together as a husband and wife, you all both have individual dreams and goals in your life. Now, some women are raised to be wives, but yet and so they still have dreams. Their dream does not start and end with being just a wife. Especially if she's a person has been trained to be a good wife.
Mm-hmm.
She's got hopes and dreams and everything else too, to go along with just to be your wife or whoever's wife. So you have to have that understanding too is what are your hopes and dreams? Are they in alignment with me and my hopes and dreams? And are you going to support me while I'm making the majority of the bread? Support, are you going to support me as well? You know, so at the end of the day, it works both ways. You got to be able to pick a woman in an African culture that's going to be not only a good wife, but a good support. And like, you know, hey, my wives knew we were at a corporate event, whether I was standing next to them or not, they were still promoting me. They still knew how to key in on certain things and talk or become a resource for me while I might be doing something with maybe one of my colleagues or something like that. You should be able to walk away from your woman and not worry about her necessarily getting snatched up, but also supporting your business if she's there in that capacity. She's just not supposed to be a good looking thing on your arm. You don't want a stupid woman like that either. You want somebody that's going to be an asset to you right along with being your wife.
Yeah. And I would say, watch this, Ron. Traditionally, men were what? Men had no problem with leaving a wife. Like, hey, I drafted the papers. We're divorcing. And men had no problem with disowning kids. But for some reason, today, that's your biggest problems. That keeps most men in a conundrum. Walking away from their wife, walking away from a mismatched woman, right? They matched wrong. I'm not saying the woman's necessarily bad, because there's some guys who are like, I love a woman to tell me what to do and whip me into shape. And you know what I'm saying? Like, some guys really like that. So I'm not even condemning that. You know, so there's a partner for a lot of different people out here. You know me? Like, some guys are like, yeah, I want to see you hook up with another guy on that Diddy stuff. So net, that's them though, right? But what I'm saying is that also you have the ability to walk away and have the ability to disown. And it doesn't mean you failed or anything like that, right? You just have to detach yourself from a mismatch. And I think sometimes we don't realize we don't do enough, you know, what is it called? Filtering, processing, investigating, and seeing who we're taking on as a partner. But I get it, because we also got a limited supply, right? So if you do have a high filtration and you ain't got a bunch of people coming through, then you're going to have a problem at the end of the day. But again, you're going to have to figure that out, how to get more people to come through. And that's usually building yourself up. And that's why men going overseas, somebody said this, I can't remember who, but you almost become a high value man just by moving overseas. And you guys just don't realize that. If you were a local man on that same BS, you'll have problems too, just like local men do. But you don't realize that you're coming overseas and automatically upgraded to a high value man.
Facts. Well, fellas, man, let me get some closing statements from you guys, man. I'm gonna wrap it up, man. If y'all want to give some takeaways, man, I know we talked about a lot, man.
Don't everybody fight to be first. I'll go ahead and go first, because I'm the least experienced in Africa, more experienced in the relationship part, and looking for a good woman. But I definitely, as a Christian-based man, believe in being evenly yoked, and that's not just in religion, but it's also in the way you believe on how she was raised to be a wife. Different families raise different people, raise their kids different ways as far as quote unquote being a wife. But if you got somebody that has a good family background, their family are protectors, she's covered by her father, and everything is going well that way, then just dig into the family and figure out if she's going to be a good fit overall. I don't believe in having a dumb wife. I want a wife that's intelligent, can talk on different levels and different layers of different things that we might be doing, so she can be an extra resource to me and not just a liability. Because a lot of guys will just marry a pretty thing, and that's all that is a liability. She ain't doing nothing but spending your money and sitting there, you know, at the end of the day. But yeah, be careful who you pick. But there are a lot of opportunities in Africa and other countries. It depends on what you're looking for. Everybody knows I'm in Southeast Asia, Philippines, so I'm edged out on the African side of it. Hey. But other than that, that's the last thing I got to say. Great line. I always appreciate you allowing me to come up on the panel and give my insight. No excuse. We talk plenty of times offline, so you already know what my mindset is. So Peace to you, brother. Peace to the brothers that are included on the panel, everybody in the chat, by all means. And that's my word of the day.
Hey, real quick, they do got Muslims in the Philippines too. They do got them in the Philippines. So
yeah, you got to watch out.
They're
the extremists, and some of them are still bombing.
Wow.
The white boy was the one that got killed.
No.
Muslim family. You know, the white kid that got married to the Muslim Filipino, the one that got killed, was a YouTuber. Yeah, that's from down.
Okay. I'll leave that one alone for now. Appreciate
But
you, bro.
you sound like you're really enjoying the Philippines, though, brother. The way you, like, with passion, made your closing remarks.
Oh, I'm definitely at peace. Let's put it that way. And I definitely have a good one. And we're going through the process right now. Believe me, we're going through that process right now. Like I said, tomorrow I'll be moving into a permanent resident for the next year. I already got that signed and locked in. So that'll alleviate some stress, because as men, you know, you got the looming thing of stability. You jumping from Airbnb to Airbnb, that ain't cool. They ain't stability. You know what I mean? And if you're serious about being somewhere, then you need to have a permanent location in order to progress and even getting your residency visa and certain things like that. So there's a process involved in that. So be men and don't just go over there for the snatch. Get yourself established.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. All right, man, let me get obstacles, man. You got anything you want to close out with, bro?
Yeah, great video across the board. I definitely would say the biggest thing that I would add would be the one that you're not retiring, guys. Once you get and you're looking for marriage, it's the ultimate game. It's the ultimate season. It's the biggest season of your life. And so just change your perspective when you enter into that paradigm. And then also, most people say, dang, bro, I always tell people I actually haven't had bad relationships. All mine's have been good. I just didn't want kids. So that's why, it never went longer. You see what I'm saying? But they all were great relationships. But, how? Am I perfect? No. I just go to marketplaces, which are good for me. You get me? Maybe my story would be different if I was fishing from a different pond. But I've always seen from my traveling that, dang, the fish are popping over here for me as a fisherman and for what I'm looking for. So again, going to the right marketplace, looking in the right demographics. Everybody does it, from Google, from Apple, right? They look up the customer demographics and then target the appropriate audience. And I think this is what the stream was really touching at, is know yourself, know what you're looking for, and find the right pond and find the right marketplace, and you'll find your winner. Shout outs to you, No Excuses. And actually, at the end of the day, with that information in this video, there's no excuses for you not to find what you're looking for.
Hey,
Go ahead and throw that little bar in there. Just look at it. Just do that bar up in there.
Hey, man, the homie, man, Kicks Kaya. You want to close out with anything, man?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, man, thanks for allowing me to come on. Like I said, I always watch your channel. Usually when I'm like traveling and stuff, I don't really get to catch up on too many videos, but when I do, it's always a blessing. Keep doing your thing, my brother, and keep spreading the light. I mean, I agree with the closing statements of the previous panelists. One thing I'll say, just take your time, man. Anyone out there searching, take your time. Travel to as many countries as you can. Learn the different cultures, and first and foremost, have a knowledge of yourself. Know yourself, because once you do, then you'll know exactly what you're looking for. Like when you're working in your purpose, you know what it is that you want to do, where you want to be at 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. You're able to make better decisions. But last thing I would say is that I don't think there's hope lost in America. I feel like, the American woman can be an asset if you know how to navigate the mental properly. I think with women in America, you have to do a lot of the work in the mind, like because a lot of them they're really looking to be re-educated if they're not damaged.
Right.
I think that they can be an asset even to some of your international endeavors. You know what I mean? If you're able to find the right piece, depending on how you're building your structure. So I wouldn't say like close your eyes on America, but be strategic and more intelligent and more keen on exactly what it is. Then you can see that that woman would be someone that can help you build even bigger than maybe a woman in Africa can. You know what I mean? So, or maybe you might want to have, multiple continents under your
Right.
belt,
Right.
if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, my brother, that's my closing statement. Thank you once again. God bless. Peace out.
All right, for sure, man. Appreciate all y'all coming up, man. So yeah, man. So this is Afro Sundays, man. I know it's been a minute, man, but uh trying to do some rebranding, still trying to learn exactly what direction I want to go with the Afro Sundays, but I'm gonna continue to travel. I'm definitely continue to educate myself and learn and research about Habesha women in the Orthodox faith. I'll be continually traveling to Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, and I know a lot of people is wondering like, why is he so honed on this certain demographic? Like, I'm researching. I haven't made any conclusions. I haven't married nobody. I haven't converted yet. So I, I'm researching, and so if things don't pan out, if I see something funny, I definitely going to convey that to you guys. But I'm researching, I'm learning, and I'm on this journey. So what I mean, I'm trying to keep y'all on this journey. But appreciate y'all tuning in. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Please like the video. Please comment, and I will check y'all out in the near future. Peace out.